Oh, no, diversify. You can.
Yeah, please, everybody. Never, never happen.
It's really hard.
You ready? Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I'd like to ask for a moment of silence for the recent victims of gun violence. Okay. So the first item on the agenda is public hearing. We are going to bypass item number 1A because we haven't had sufficient time to advertise it yet. It needs 14 days and we've only had 12. So we're moving on to item.
Move to open public hearing.
We do need to continue 1A for specific.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to continue 1A to May 23rd.
5 o'clock.
Yes.
Second.
All those in favor?
I didn't see my calendar because I think I was away from my desk when you guys were talking about it. Yeah, I'm good. Yes.
I have to recuse.
Yes.
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 Okay, now moving on to item number 2, D2, the outdoor entertainment license application.
Move to open public hearing, section 42-46-6B. Council may review, discuss, and or take action on the following items. And we'll open up for 2 and 3.
Okay, second.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor?
We do them separately?
We're gonna do them separately. We'll open it up for both of them.
Right, so we open up one, close it, open up the next, close it.
Right,
So
yes.
he just
We
removed
can't
it.
combine, we can't combine the two. So, how do you
Just
feel?
wondering. Then,
Two.
no,
How do you vote?
I don't want to open both.
No, we're,
Opening.
we'll modify it,
Okay.
modify it.
Sorry, I thought I heard a 3 as well. Sorry, yes.
Yes,
Recuse.
yes.
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 Okay,
Yes.
do we have the applicants here? Please come to the podium and speak with us.
Hello,
Hi,
how are you? I'm Lauren. I own Pascal Farms with my brother-in-law Mike and my husband Frank.
okay. So entertainment license. What kind of entertainment are we looking at?
Farmers markets, antique car shows, mostly just farm related activities, maybe a pumpkin show. But we want to have music. if possible.
Okay, like DJ or a band or,
Probably, yeah, like live music, instrumental for some of the smaller things like the farmers markets, but maybe some like country music when we do the pumpkin fest, if that works out.
Do you know what the duration of time would be that you would be doing the music?
Yeah, so the farmers markets, we're thinking maybe like 12 to 5. I don't know if we do music the entire time, but and then the pumpkin fest, which is the New England Giant Growers Association, they used to do it in Warren. They usually do theirs from like 12 to sunset. So again, nobody would play that entire time, but you know, through that time frame. And then we were thinking maybe in car show, so that'd be probably 2 hours.
So nothing late at night?
No.
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, and that was my biggest concern. My biggest concern was the people who live across the street would be
Yeah.
listening to thumping bass at 9 o'clock at
Yeah.
night.
That's not our plan at all.
Okay,
You have the authority if you want to put a condition on the license in terms of time of day that the music must end. It's up to you whether you want to do that or not.
I
but you have
would
the right
like-
to do that.
I would like to do that in deference to the people that live across the street. So
How's dusk sound?
7 o'clock,
So I think dusk in the summertime is like 8:30. That's what the food trucks are doing.
okay.
And I think, yeah, that's already been granted to them. So, I mean, I think it would be fair. But, you know, I guess.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would feel comfortable with dusk.
Yeah.
Especially during the summer, everybody's out.
Is that what the ordinance is for the town typically, or like as far as music goes, or is it always conditional?
I believe it's always conditional. My concern is that we have a cigar bar down in town and there are no real neighbors directly across the street, and we have the preserve, no neighbors directly across the street. And even Elena's Ale House, where there are some neighbors, but they usually enclose it in a tent or in a building. So there are some sort of limitations on it. So that was my only concern. I'm not trying to be anti-business, or I'm a customer of yours.
Yes.
So
Can I ask a question? So
sure.
let's say we wanted to do something specific that was past those hours, could we request that?
I would,
I don't see why not.
yeah, I would think that it would depend on how the neighbors feel about it too.
Okay,
You know, I mean, I'm sure that you plan on being a good neighbor to your neighbors, and so that, I'd like
right.
to
So
take
we
that
have
into account.
reached out to the abutters.
Right,
A couple of them are here specifically, you know, in support, especially directly across the street on the only abutter that's on Thorpe Lane and then 420 Kingstown Road. They're very supportive. I think that's the only ones in the 200-foot radius.
right.
But I mean, sure, if
Yeah.
you know, we
Okay,
could
so I
alert them.
feel what you said, dusk, does everyone
Mhm.
concur with that?
Dusk works in the summer, but when it comes to November, dusk is 5 o'clock.
Right, that's a good point. And for the pumpkin festival, then, you know, I think saying 8 or 8:30 would be better.
Right, I just don't want to push it to 9. I know that there's people with families and children
Sure.
and all that, and I don't want
Yeah.
to.
And we could potentially request if we wanted
Right.
to do something.
Yes, I mean, there's always exceptions to everything, but I just kind of like to give people a good feeling about it.
Well, instead of saying dusk, taking in all into account with the pumpkin fest, that we do it 8:30.
Okay.
It stops at 8:30.
Yeah, that's
So that would cover you for the fall without having to come back in here.
Sure.
Because dusk does change.
Yes,
unfortunately.
yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you very much. I was gonna ask if there's anyone else that has comments or would like to come up and speak, sir?
I wrote a letter to the council.
Yes.
Let me
Read it.
see if I can get up and read it.
That is why I am trying to,
Do the abutter situation. Yeah, it's, let me read this into the record, for the record. It was addressed to the Honorable Town Council.
Mhm.
Dear council members, we are imploring you to deny the requested Class BV alcohol license and outdoor entertainment license to Pascal Farms Garden Center LLC of 421 Kingstown Road, Richmond, for the following reasons. Excuse me. My wife and I purchased a piece of land and built our home approximately 30 years ago. We have loved the rural character and peace and quiet of our town. We live on Thorpe Lane, a dead end lane directly opposite 421 Kingstown Road. John and Cindy's Harvest Acres ran a nursery and garden center at that location for over 30 years. with little or no problems. If Pasquale Farms requests are granted, we will have problems. Route 138 is the major east-west roadway in Richmond. It is heavily trafficked year-round. In addition, traffic loads pick up during the summer as people travel to Newport and the Cape. The road itself has only 2 lanes with almost no breakdown lane at 421 Kingstown Road. It's about 2 feet wide.
I live on 130 myself.
All right, so you know the breakdown lanes basically almost non-existent. If the license were granted, we will have traffic congestion in the area in spite of the efforts of the 2 police officers assigned to directing traffic. I also received today an answer to my request on DOT from DOT. They provided me with the data today. I took a sample of traffic flow during July on a Friday in 7/22/18 was 11,260 cars. On 7/16/21 on a Friday, 10,464 cars. Friday, 7/15/1922. 2022, excuse me. I'm old. 10,479 was the count. So the only way we have in that 2-lane road is coming that way with heavy traffic. You start putting congestion on the road, we're going to back things up and it's going to get messy. So there will be traffic congestion. It's a given. I just received a response back from DOT. I will give a copy to the chief. We have concerns. Also, human nature being what it is, we will have illegally parked cars at the end of Thorpe Lane, which will give rise to a public safety problem. Fire trucks and ambulances may not be able to gain access to Thorpe Lane in a timely manner. A number of the residents of Thorpe Lane are in their 70s and 80s, and their lives could depend on a quick response. The second license request is for an outdoor entertainment license from June 1st to December. If granted, the peace and quiet of our neighborhood will be adversely affected. Sound travels. We can hear the music from the Washington County Fair, which is miles away, not just feet away. It is my understanding that Pasquale Farms Garden Center began leasing 421 Kingstown Road from John and Cindy Duncan approximately 9 months ago, and are still in their first year of operation of their garden center. Having an alcohol license and an outdoor entertainment license are not necessary requirements to run a garden center. Their vision of our neighborhood runs counter to many of our neighbors who have lived here for many years and love the peace and quiet of our rural community. Again, we respectfully request the town council to deny the Class BV alcohol license and the outdoor entertainment license. Congestion, traffic problems, noise pollution, and potential public safety issues are not needed. Signed by myself and my wife Diane, who was present here this evening. I had a very good meeting with the chief who stopped by, and we met for an hour on Friday. The chief is assuring me that his department can control the traffic at the end of Thorpe Lane and negate the type of problems we would have. I have great respect for the chief, and if you appoint him for life, I'm sure that'll be the case.
Kind, sir.
Best I can do, Chief. But the actual measurements at the throat of the road is 20 feet. At the chip asphalt just in is 18 feet. If a full-size car, a Chrysler 300, were to park right on the edge, that's 75 inches wide. A fire truck is 10 feet wide. A type 3 ambulance is 8 feet, 0.164 wide. If, God forbid, a car gets on that side illegally parked and we have a problem, we're in difficulty. I know the chief and his department will do what they can to prevent it, but the 2 officers on traffic control, giving this kind of flow during the summer, they're gonna be stuck out there. They're not gonna be able to move away from traffic control to deal with our 1 car park problem. We were told to call in and request a roving patrol vehicle to come to address the issue. It is so different than what we've had here for 30 years. And it's a different vision of the neighborhood. The farmers markets existed in front of town hall for years. Never been a major problem. Didn't need a beer and alcohol license and a live music license to run a farmers market. It's just many of our neighbors feel the same way, but a lot of them are hesitant to come and speak publicly.
Understood. So
We implore you.
I understand what you're saying.
Excellent.
And I'm the kind of person, I could be wrong, maybe it's the engineer in me. I wait till there's a problem before I try and design a solution to it.
Okay,
And
I understand that.
I'm thinking that thinking the worst and thinking the worst is going to happen is a bad idea. My second response is the reason that the garden center that was there prior closed is because they couldn't afford to keep it open anymore. A garden center, standalone garden center, is not going to make enough money to stay open and be a viable business. They need something else.
You can make pies like Schottner did for years and sell them.
They're out of business too, but I don't want to get into it.
I understand, sir. It's just, for us, it's a no-win situation.
Right.
It's not, what we have built over the 30 years, existing on the same street in the same house, is going bye-bye. This we don't like. This is a major problem for
I understand.
us.
I understand.
Um,
You got other people that,
There's one other issue I saw in the documentation in the application. There's a request for a waiver of standard police enforcement requirements in the ordinance. And it's my understanding that waiver is only available to nonprofits, other civic things, not available to commercial enterprise.
can anyone, Karen, can you speak to that about this waiver? I don't know anything about that.
We've made decisions on the waiver before. The food truck, we request the same thing. It's the same situation.
Yeah.
So the number of police officers they checked.
I mean, I'd like to say the waiver stands, and if we have a problem, then we pull more officers in, rather than just have a bunch of officers standing around.
Mark, I can answer that question. for you.
Sure.
The waivers are available to any event sponsored by or on behalf of a religious, charitable, or civic organization.
Okay,
So they would not be available to a commercial business.
okay, so therefore,
That the waiver would not be granted.
right.
Thank you.
Have a chance.
Sure.
just because kind of glossed
Go ahead.
over it. So I did read your letter. Thank you for so much for sending it, because I do read everything that people send, and it even prompted a conversation with Lauren. Right there, on Saturday, because I wanted to make sure the concerns were heard and addressed. And from what I'm gathering, I just don't think that the events that they're looking to hold at this time are even close to comparable to the Washington County Fair. Just looking at the attendance and things like that. It almost just seems like exactly what Richmond would want. We want farmers markets, we want car shows, and those things are happening in the next town over. There's a farmers market in South Kingstown that I end up going to. There's a car show at the Exeter animal shelter annually to make money. So I'm looking at those and I don't see major traffic backups, although Route 2 is different than 138. We don't see major backups at the farmers market at URI, because it's literally right inside. It's not like it's way in URI, it's right off 138. And it's narrow there as well. So those are my thoughts on just specifically the outdoor entertainment license, because just to clarify, we did postpone the alcohol license, so I'm not touching on any of those concerns at this time. So I am just really in favor of this, because it's something that again aligns with Richmond's vision of having farmers markets and everything like that. But also I want to remind everybody that this is an industrial zoned area. If we do not support them and we do not help this business grow, anything can go in there. What else do you think could go in there in an industrial zone? So this just seems to really align with us, and it seems like the owner is flexible if something goes wrong to work with the town. So I think those are very important things to consider.
And this,
Thank
Well said. Well said.
and this to me seems to be more of a family oriented functions that you're gonna have there.
Right.
And again, you know what I mean, you have to reinvent yourself, because if you don't, it's not working, what you're doing right now. So I applaud you for having some foresight and to be able to change, all right, your business structure in order to try and stay open. And I applaud the way you're going about it in terms of, you know, more family friendly functions. That's great.
I also appreciate that you sat with the chief today or this week about the traffic. I was concerned about the traffic. I also wonder, is it less on Saturday and Sunday than it is on Friday?
There are different peak volumes. Commuter hours are the busiest before the end of June. Saturdays and Sundays fluctuate. But I'll tell you what, this corridor between say 7:30 and 9:30 in the morning is busy. And between everybody that tries to pick their child up at school will see that it is busy. Weekends they fluctuate a bit depending on what's going on in Newport and whatnot. But if you
feel
have
confident.
ample signage and cruisers and police details to slow people down, guide people in off of the main road, which is the purpose to try to get people parking on the lots that they have, there shouldn't be any significant problem. But
Chief, and there was no issues with the first function with the food trucks down there recently, correct?
there were no issues. I think even the Pascals learned a bit about how to get people in off the road a little in a more organized fashion. I think they created one ingress and one egress, right? And you always learn from having any event, but to their credit, they arranged a meeting with the building inspector, the fire marshal, and myself to do a site visit. To go over concerns that we might have, suggestions. Their heart's in the right place. They did a lot of work, but like I explained to Mr. McGannon, no one's ever going to agree 100%, and his concerns are valid too. I understand those. We wouldn't allow somebody to block an emergency vehicle to any road, whether it's private or it's a right of way. We're going to take action to remove that obstacle so we can get fire trucks and ambulances into that location. But most of the events, I think, but for the Great Pumpkin, if I'm quoting that wrong, forgive me, in October, where they anticipate a crowd of 1,000 to 2,000 people, that's probably similar to the food truck event, where you have several hundred people to 1,000 attending. We can accommodate that traffic. We have the appropriate amount of detail officers to work. So
Good. Sounds like they did their homework and, they want to be good business neighbors. That's good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Laura Goodwin. I live on 2 Grove Lane.
Okay.
I'm neighbors with the McGannons, and I'm sorry to disagree, but The Pasquales have been wonderful to us. They've been amazing neighbors. We appreciate everything they do. And their business is amazing. It's what we need for our community. They're selling things in their store that are made by other farmers, other artists, other people who really thrive on income in this area. And they've asked us, you know, anything we can do, is everything okay? You know, when my husband and I walked across the street to both of the food truck events, police officers stopped the traffic in both directions, so the two of us could walk across the street.
Thank
I
God.
felt
Thank
bad. They did, no, they were fantastic. They were just so nice to us, and it's just so nice to have something to do in the area, you know. We moved here from Narragansett a year ago, and I was kind of in PTSD about like, what do I do now, you know? But so this has been really a godsend for us, and I know it has been a lot longer for you all, and I totally respect your opinion. But for us, this has been lovely, and they've been wonderful to us just as customers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our town's at a crossroads and things are gonna change, but we can mold the change. We can't stop the change, but we can mold it.
Love to see them stay open.
I just have one more thought on the music. Thank you. The music that comes to a farmer's market is not generally very loud music. I heard my neighbor play for the first time at a farmer's market. It was just fully acoustic, nothing loud, nothing like that. So if you're playing really loud music, that would be similar to Washington County Fair rock shows. You're not gonna, your customers aren't gonna come into that because that's not what they're looking for. That's just my.
We won't be able to buy anything, but can't hear it to make a deal.
Right, my husband wanted me to say no.
Sir?
Yeah, Gary Stoner, Richmond. We're on Punch Bowl Trail, about a mile away from Pascal Farms up the hill. Just as a point of information, noise travels uphill, and we've heard the music from both food truck nights. We are concerned about the noise, perhaps, so anyway, I just wanted to mention that, and if there are things that can be done in terms of orienting music that takes place there, or the type of music in terms of amplification, those kinds of things probably should be taken into consideration in terms of, as this gentleman said, the nature of the neighborhood is quiet, and that's a good thing. And we do want the business to succeed, but we also don't want our quality of life to be unnecessarily interrupted.
Right.
So thanks.
Yeah.
I'm Diane McGann, and I live on 6th Lane with my husband. I just, when we talk about music, and this whole situation with me, it's music is an issue. I love the peace and quiet of the neighborhood. This is where we came to Richmond for. And I have to tell you, one of my favorite things that I do is I go on my back deck and I sit there and I listen to the birds and the owls and just appreciate the beauty around it. The other night when they did the band, we heard it. It wasn't extremely loud, but we still heard it. My concern too, we have no stipulations on the type of entertainment. Do we have bands? I mean, a band, from what we're saying, bands would be possible. I mean, bands, and depending on the numbers, can create loud music. Of course, we're not going to do, you know, the hard rock and things of that nature. But if there's no restriction on that, how do you enforce that? If they come in with a band and it's 6-person band and it's loud, because it's loud and it wasn't very loud before, but they were quiet. But there's no guarantee in upcoming events it's going to be quiet. I do have, and I love Richmond. I really do. Like I said, you know, we just participate, but I just have an issue with it. I just really have an issue with the bands and noise and stuff of that nature. Even the current activity there, it's noisy. It's going to be noisy. It just, to me, it takes away from our community. I know everyone's looking at it, it brings in business, but at the same time, I feel we're sacrificing that. And for me to be in a place for 30 years and all of a sudden have to listen to music, I just don't. not me, it's not my interpretation of what this community should be about. Also, another thing with the requesting the thing from June 1st to December 1st. Now, according to the agenda that they supplied, it looks like there's only weekend events coming. If you're applying for something from the 1st of June to the 1st of December, what happens to the rest of the week? I mean, we could have engagements and functions going for 7 days a week for what, how many, 9 months? There's nothing to prevent that. I mean, they seem like they're cooperative and stuff, but there's nothing to prevent any of that. They could come and say, okay, Mike, it's June 1st, I want to do this entire week. Does that concern people that we can have activities for 7 days a week for the entire period of time?
I just wanted to,
I can answer the question if you
yeah,
don't mind.
please.
On page 6 of the license, it says long-term licenses, and they literally check off what days they want. They've only checked off Sunday, Friday, and Saturday. So that there is our insurance
Oh,
that they
okay,
can be doing.
okay, so that's
Just wanted to,
Thursdays, who?
right, and also for Thursday, it's once a month that you do, so you were talking about 4 days with that.
I just wanted to add to this two things. Some communities have a sound level ordinance, a decibel requirement. I know when I grew up in East Greenwich, I played in a band and all of a sudden we had to turn our amplifiers way down because it was too loud for the neighborhood. So that may be something that we may need to explore in the future. The other thing I was going to suggest is these wonderful people who are running this farm seem very amicable, and maybe if you just came over and sat down with them over a cup of coffee, you could work some of your issues out. That's the beauty of a small town. We are all neighbors. We all get together and we can talk nice and work things through without laws and without bad public discourse. So that's my 2 cents. I can't tell you what to do. I can't tell them what to do. However, we're a small town and we should still be able to work things out like that. I'm inclined to think that 8 o'clock should be a limit during the week. I don't see why on a Wednesday night or Thursday night that somebody would need to run music past 8 o'clock at night. Myself, I go to bed at 9 o'clock. I'm old. So, but
Right now, it's just the weekend.
But I'd rather err on the believing that these people have the best interests, not only of their own business, but their neighbors and the town. And I'd like to approach it that way. And then if there's a problem, then we go back and we remedy it. But right now, I think that it would be best if we don't shackle them and tie their hands behind their back. They're trying to run a business. We don't have a whole lot of people investing in Richmond. And I know that's probably not great news to you, but that's one person's.
Mark,
Yes.
we do have a noise ordinance,
Okay.
and it does not have an exception for loud music.
What
So
is
we're
our
blocking.
decibel rating?
It depends on the zoning district and the time of day.
Oh.
It varies.
Okay,
But the chief can tell you more about it because the police department enforces that ordinance.
right,
Usually drops down to 60 decibels after 10 PM,
okay.
between the hours of 7 AM and 10 PM, depending on the zoning district. And you would take it from the complainant's property line in the direction of where the sound is at.
Thank you. We have the remote, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We have the remote person, if we could let them speak.
Sarah Tracy, you should have permissions.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes,
I'm the remote person. Living directly across the street from Pasquale Farms. And this is difficult for me because we all want to be good neighbors, and I have many neighbors, you know, Richard and Diane McGann, you welcomed us when we built our house here, maybe about 2 years after you had moved here. And it's challenging to understand how we can allow new businesses and families to grow in our town and yet still try to retain what we know our neighborhood looks like. And so I'm challenged right now to speak because I don't want to offend anyone. But I think from my experience, last Thursday when the food trucks were here, I heard a little bit of the music, but nothing like I hear from the Washington County Fair, which is amazing because who knows how sound travels. And I think, is there a way that we can find maybe a happy median and let Lauren and Frank and Mike start this? Is there a way that we can say, okay, 6 months from now, this isn't working? But I think everybody needs to be able to have a chance to make this work for all of us. And I don't know if there's a way that can be done. You know, just to give it a chance, see how we are affected, and then revisit. Don't know if that can happen, but that's maybe my suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, please.
Thank you guys so much, but it's only a 6-month license, so I think we could definitely revisit it if we decided to renew that. But we really do want to be good neighbors. It's really important to us to address everybody's concerns. I don't want to make anybody feel like uncomfortable or like they're sacrificing their peace for us in any way. As farmers right now, it's really hard to like make a living, you know, and I like plants sometimes more than people. I could be in a greenhouse almost at every food truck event. You'll find me in the greenhouse. So this is very outside of my comfort zone, but I know that I'm not gonna be able to leave my child like a big legacy by selling 4 packs of tomatoes. You know, I would like to try and think outside the box and see how we can generate revenue in other ways that are still family friendly and that are still fun for the community. We love Richmond. We eat at Elena's. When Frank needs something, he runs to Ace Hardware. We have 3 teenagers from Terre Haute working for us. Bree Nelson works for us. She's lovely. We sell like 33 different local vendors in our store. People that don't have another venue, you know, so they don't have a storefront. So they come to us and we sell their stuff. And so we really are trying to give back. And the last thing I want is for people to dislike us, you know, for any reason. I do think that there's some confusion about the food truck events versus our events, because that's a license that's already been granted. So I think that what we're trying to do, like the chief said, even the biggest event that we hope to have, you know, if we're approved, is a pumpkin way off. So it's pretty wholesome, and it's still probably 1,000 people less than the amount of people that were at the first food truck event. So, and that went smoothly, but we did want to even improve upon that. So we met with the chief and we met with fire marshal and changed the parking plan to what we submitted to you guys. And the last one was, the flow was way better. And we actually made a space specifically for rescue right at the end of the drive. And that was at the request of, you know, at the suggestion of the fire marshal. So they might not ever get better response time. You know, I feel like we're trying really hard to make everybody feel comfortable, but still invest in the community. That's
I have a feeling you got it covered from soup to nuts, and I like what I've heard. You know what I mean? You gave a great presentation, and I think you're on the right track.
Thank you. If anybody has any questions, though, they can always come by the store. We're happy to.
I remember when I went to your business when you first opened it up down the street. And I said, I wish you'd moved to Richmond, and then you did. So, thanks. Yeah, anyone else?
If no one has anything else, I'll do a motion to close public hearing.
Second,
No, we got somebody else.
Joan Kent, who in the community, they've only lived here about 6 years. Well, has been a very, very good neighbor, good business. We need that kind of business in town. And I think they're working in good faith with the community and with all our taxpayers here. And I can understand that you don't want the noise, but I think they want to do things in the proper manner, control that, and we've got to give them a chance. I say, you grant them their license. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay,
Now
so,
I'll make a motion to close.
second,
all those in favor?
aye,
Aye.
Recuse.
Okay,
move to make a motion to grant them their license with the stipulation that the entertainment music has to be shut down by 8:30.
And can we,
second.
sorry for discussion, I guess. We also don't want to grant those waivers because they're not eligible for the waivers.
Yeah, that should be added, because that's on the.
Right, so if we could add that to the,
Yeah, the motion will also include that the waivers that they're requesting would not be granted.
and I second that.
Do you want to limit, the days of the week? They limited them on their application, but that's not necessarily binding on them unless you include it in your motion.
No, my opinion is let them run with it, and if there's an issue, then we can address it, but I don't see it being an issue. So again, I don't want to tie their hands, because I think it'll be good for the community as a whole.
Okay, any further discussion?
No.
Okay, that being said, how do you vote?
Use the
I don't know if you can. Are we allowed to question that motion at all?
No,
No.
you're not.
No, it on, it's silent, okay.
I
Aye,
Recuse.
Aye.
motion passes.
move to open public hearing, D3, under accordance with section 4246(6)(b). The council may review, discuss, and or take action on the following items.
Second,
You know, roll call.
Aye.
aye,
Aye.
thanks, I was flipping. Okay, so. We're looking at a water rate increase, correct?
That is correct. And a proposed rate to double the base for meter charges across all categories. If that is done, it also does increase the debt service to the customers that have a debt service charge because it's based on a meter size, meter rate. And it will also increase the revenue that we receive from Hopkinton as well, because theirs is also based on the residential rate. What is proposed is not the maximum amount that the water system needs. It is an interim stop between what we would need for capital improvement, cover depreciation. But it would cover operating and a small amount for some capital and or additional service contractor fees. I presented you the budget, the rates where they've been, the residential rate where it would fall at different levels because our usage rate does not change. So the memo has been presented to you. If you have any questions.
Yeah.
Feel free.
President, I noticed that the change in rate does not impact the usage charge per gallon, which will stay at 0.005 cents per gallon and 0.006 per gallon. So there's no rate increase on the water itself.
On the water, on the usage, correct?
Why? Because they haven't seen an increase in over
Because
3 years.
their base is going up, so it would be, their base and their usage would go up. So at this point, it's just on the base rate, not to include an increase on the usage. And you can see what it does to an average residential bill. That is something that we can consider in the future. However, I do anticipate that the water usage will go up with the system. And I'm going to be honest, there are a lot of commercial properties on that system. And I anticipate some of them using additional water.
Well, being a person who's on the water system, and I did get an ethics ruling that says that I can vote and I can discuss this. But being a person that's on the water system, it's another tax. It's a fee, but it's another tax. And we were so worried about impacting the taxpayer with a huge jump in property taxes. We don't want to impact the water user with a big jump in the water rates either. And a gradual approach, I think, is a really good idea.
Well,
I think we
Greg-
do want to be clear, though, that the amount that we charge will need to go up. Really, if you're using 30,000 gallons of water a year, so your bill is now going to be $298 plus the usage, which is $148. So
Now that includes it.
that includes it. So the total bill is $298, including the both together. So that water bill is less than a fourth of what the water bill is for most people are paying around the state of Rhode Island, and way less than what people have wells are paying.
I pay more than that now, more than $2.99 now. And I don't use an exceptional amount of water.
So how
So-
does that,
Well, then
how does that work?
How does that work then?
I don't know.
How many gallons do you use?
I
You get
don't have
billed
the
out.
paperwork in front of me.
So the question, I suppose, is not so much as what our rate. How much more would you like to raise? I can go back and reevaluate increasing the usage rate. If you want to say, well, the budget should be this many more dollars more. And then I can tell you what the usage rate could
Well, Laura,
come
what
to.
concerns me, and we've discussed this, that the people, the 300 users on the system, it has to be self-sufficient. It has to be able to take care of itself. And we haven't raised the rates in over 3 years. So I know we don't want to overburden them with a big increase, but they have to realize they haven't gotten an increase over 3 years. And everybody else is on a well. And what ends up happening is when you look at your electric bill, the electric bill is going up 40%. All right, right across the board. So now to run your well, all right, to pump the water out of your well, that has increased a heck of a lot more. I'd be better off if I could be close to the water system, to hook up to the water system, because I have all the pressure, and I wouldn't have to run my well to irrigate my grass, which runs me about $150 a month.
And that's
in
fine.
electric.
And I don't have an issue with that. What I'm saying is, how much would you like this budget to go up? What would
Well,
you like the water?
I'd like to look at the total debt, not just what we pay per year, but the total debt, what we expect we're going to have to pay over the next 5 years.
And that is another reason why I did not include it, because we have not
Well,
gone out to bid for the chlorination system.
right, but we probably could
So-
come up with a rough estimate, so. Well,
We
initially
don't
we wanted
really-
$400,000 for that system. That was what I heard here.
Do we,
And every year, every month that we wait because we haven't gotten approval yet is a month that price is going up, but we can't anticipate everything. And we're looking at a recommendation from our finance person, just like with the property taxes.
Well, just so we know that next year it needs to go up. Because
Right.
it may go up again.
And
You are
just
absolutely, this is.
Next year,
needs to
most
be.
likely, the property taxes are gonna need to go up.
Yes, I agree with that.
Right, Mr. President,
What?
real quick, we did discuss this on April 10th
Right.
already, and
we're
this is what
killing
we
it now.
came up with. This is already what we came up with
Right.
based off that discussion.
Mhm.
We all want the water system to be self-sustaining. I think don't mean to put words in your mouth there, but
Even me.
right, so we want it to be self-sustaining, but we don't want to overburden the people who are on it and have that huge increase, because right now they're already gonna look at it being double. So I think that this is a good plan to go forward and get us there over time. That's all my thoughts.
Well, I know we discussed it in April, but we discussed you coming back with some hard numbers for us.
She did, you weren't at that meeting.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
You were at
So
the-
these were the hard numbers that you
Right.
gave at that meeting.
All right, so we need to vote on this, approve it, and then know that next year we will be looking at it again.
Right. Is there anyone in the audience or the virtual audience that has anything to add? Please. Mark.
Mark Reynolds, I just want to make one quick point. I think it's important to recognize a lot of people are on the water system because their well's contaminated. So it's not like they're being lazy and they don't want to use their well and they don't want to do that.
Me.
Their well's contaminated. They have no choice. So yes, it needs to be self-sufficient. I fully agree with that, but let's take a gradual approach and not whack people all in one fell swoop.
So thank you. That
I also
leads
don't
me,
think people are lazy that are on the well.
I just wanted to finish what I was saying. So I am one of those people. When I moved into my house, my water tasted terrible. I put a water filtration system on my house. It still tasted terrible. I brought my water to a testing agency and they said it was contaminated with mercury. I told my neighbor, he had his checked. It was contaminated with mercury because the people across the 138 have a appliance dump. They had a huge pit that they filled with appliances and mercury wicked into the groundwater. And then when I brought it up at a town council meeting, they filled it in. I went up there, it was all filled in. I also had to buy another well because of the contamination. They suggested replacing the well. Finally, I connected to the town water system. The whole debacle between a new well, water testing and connecting to the water system cost me about $12,000. So that being said, if there's no further comments, I would like to make a motion to close the public hearing. And I'd like to put it up to a vote.
Roll calls for that.
Roll call, yes.
Yes, close public hearing.
Yes.
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 Okay, now let's put it up for a vote for approval.
Move to approve the amendments to chapter 13.05.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
thank you. Moving on.
If anybody has anything to pull, I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda items 1, 2, and 3.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Done. Okay, public forum. Yes, sir.
Point of order, the BV liquor license, seems like you voted without opening for public comment on that separate
You get
license.
postponed.
And you voted on it without, it's sort of like it went together
It didn't.
with the,
It got voted to be put to another day in the future on May.
on the liquor license?
Yes, May 23rd.
Okay, my hearing aids were like, wait a minute,
Yep.
they didn't ask for public comment.
So it's May 23rd at 5 o'clock,
Oh, okay, I'll be back.
not 6.
Thank you.
So we'll see you again on May 23rd.
I'll turn up the volume. Thank you.
Oh, okay, regarding public forum. Because the meeting seems to be really moving slowly, I have to ask people to try and limit their comments to 2 minutes. And limit their time to the podium for 1 time. That being said, we open public forum.
Alexandra Lepore, Richmond is my residence. I just have a few things I've been following. I'm like you all know from my last appearance here. I'm fairly new to this. But I have been following the Westerly Sun. And from the last time we had talked of our concern or my concerns about the taxes,
I found a letter from Ray Pouliot on April 26th on the Westerly Sun that says over the last 10 years, his wife and himself had seen a 42.29% increase in their tax bill. And it's not, he says also that it's not lean or financially responsible unless you want your citizens to move to a more tax-friendly town. They said they live about 300 yards from Exeter Town Line, and the only difference, nothing says that nothing in their life would change except for one thing. Their lifestyle would be the same, their property value might be the same or slightly higher, and the change is a drastic reduction in their tax bill. So I wanted to bring that up, that there are people who are concerned about their taxes. And I did also read a letter from May 6th for Samantha Wilcox, that as an elected representative, she makes decisions that keep in mind all residents and the future of Richmond. And you make a statement here that in Mr. Colasanti's own words, he stated multiple times that you lack empathy for those struggling. And this could be further from the truth, is what you stated. So I'd like to know how that's possible when I spoke at one meeting with other residents. Could you please pass that around? Who were explaining the hardships for their taxes that they were creating for them. And then the very next meeting, you questioned who these people that are having trouble paying their taxes are. So I take offense to that. And then I was presented from something from the Richmond Democratic Town Committee, bingo, that says, I'll be sending everyone an individual link in case you want to entertain yourself during the next RTC meeting by playing RTC bingo. Of course, it'll be less conspicuous if you're playing from home, and Sam probably shouldn't play well at the table. And then we have a lovely bingo card.
We're at 2 minutes.
But let me just finish it. I mean, we have
No,
people.
I think you've made your point.
Okay, well, then we also have Joyce Flanagan that is going to be considered for a position. She's on this, right? She's a position for the zoning board. And I'd like you guys to consider that, because if she's on this thread and they make a mockery of taxpayers and their problems, I find that highly offensive and not professional and lack of empathy for the taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else that has anything to say? Or in Cyberland? Okay, that being said, I make a motion to close the public forum.
We don't usually use a motion for that.
Right. Well, we're closing public forum. So next comes reports. And we have a presentation from Jeremy. I won't even try. Jeremy C. on the Governor's Learning 365 initiative in consideration of participation in Rhode Island Municipal Education Compact. Is Jeremy here?
Behind us.
Oh. Here?
He's muted.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, sorry about that. My name is Jeremy Chipetta, and I'm really excited to be here tonight to share with you about the governor's Learn 365 RI initiative and to answer any questions that you might have. We've been meeting with communities across the state to talk about expanding learning opportunities for our youth, especially coming out of COVID. And so we know that we got behind and we're still behind. And we also know that schools, as great as the superintendent is, as great as the principals are, as great as the teachers are, schools aren't able to do this on their own. And so the governor has launched this Learn 365 RI initiative. and want to tell you about it and hope that Richmond joins us. Next slide, please. So as you may have heard, with the governor, he announced the first most important part of any change effort is to set a goal. He announced a goal to be as good or better than Massachusetts by 2030. It's an ambitious goal. And frankly, there is no way in the world that we achieve that goal without everyone. Right. So the governor, he set out these metrics, improve math scores, improve our daily attendance, and then improve our FAFSA completion, all in service of our young people living healthier lives and, lives with more income, right? And if we can generate wealth, that's good for our tax base. That's good for them, right? That's good for them and their families to just have a choice-filled life. And so that's really why the governor's announced this. And the governor, and many of you may know him, he and I've had the pleasure of working for about 15 years now. He is about every city and town in this state, right? He's built a strategy that is about 39 cities and towns. It's about every family in Rhode Island. And that's what I'm here to talk about tonight and answer your questions. Next slide. So the governor, he sets the goal, and then what he's asked us to do is really to lean on the CEOs of the 39 cities and towns and the town councils in those communities to really lean in and to support learning, right? So statewide initiative, leverage community centers, leverage libraries, leverage our schools, leverage, other community organizations, all in service of achieving these goals, making sure that we have direct to family opportunities, and then pulling in our colleges and universities, for all of you, URIs in your backyard. So maybe it's figuring out ways to expand partnerships with URI. But there could be a number of strategies. Richmond better than anyone else. And the governor knows that. When he was mayor of Cumberland, he knew that community really well. And from the mayor's seat, he did a lot of things to improve the school system. And he believes that can happen in Richmond and the other 38 cities and towns in Rhode Island. Next slide. This is the furthest thing from an unfunded mandate. The governor has announced, or is about to announce actually, and I'm pre-announcing tonight, but there will be an RFP that comes out at the end of this month, beginning of next month, with about a $4 million opportunity statewide, using federal dollars, the governor's education emergency recovery funds, to invest in communities that are building programs and initiatives aligned to the Learn 365 RI initiative. So that the RFP is in process, but it will go out to the 39 cities and towns, not to the school departments, not to the community organizations that you might partner with, a Boys and Girls Club or a university, or a town library. The RFP will go to those town managers, those town council presidents, those community leaders that know their community, to make the investments that they think will drive these results. And I lead this nonprofit called Always Learning Rhode Island, where my role and our organization's mission is to support this effort. We're philanthropically backed. We don't have government funding. We're philanthropically backed. And our goal is to help you make really smart decisions, if you want our help. And if you want to do it on your own, that's phenomenal. We'll be a resource whenever you need us. We're really excited to see all the different opportunities and initiatives that come across the governor's desk statewide. This is, in addition, some of you may be familiar with a program that was announced a year ago. It was funded through the General Assembly last year. The funds are still in the process of being released from US Treasury, but there is a parallel capital investment program that is going to be out there to do community centers, community learning centers, whether it's renovating an existing center or creating a new one. And so those will be also announced later this summer in terms of that RFP opportunity. So excited about that. But as you know, the governor's all in on education. He's all in on 39 cities and towns, and he's been going around the state to meet with different community leaders who are willing to sign an educational compact. Next slide, please. So these are the first 6 who have signed on. Your neighbors in Hopkinton last night, they voted, their council voted to authorize a compact signing. So we'll be getting the governor down to Hopkinton. This is a compact between the community and the state, right? Between your council, your town manager, and the governor. And if you want to include the school department and partner in, absolutely. But if you want to think about out of school time, not through the school department, say summer programs or an April break initiative through the library or something along those lines, that is the local community's decision. Next slide. So this is the detail, right? And when you read this, as long as you believe in education, this is like mom and apple pie. This is, a set of belief statements around how important learning is and why we think learning is important and how we want learning to be at the center of Richmond and the other 38 communities. And then there's a set of bullets, none of which are required. Many of them are suggested. These are idealistic opportunities to maybe conduct a needs assessment or create some out of school learning time activities or have an annual forum on Richmond's learning opportunities, right? So, from my perspective, someone who lives in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, I see Charahoe's results. I don't know what Richmond's results are. And I assume you do, but I don't know that for a fact, because they all get blurred together. But maybe this becomes an opportunity to do a needs assessment that really looks at Richmond's results. I know Hopkinton was really interested in seeing the Hopkins attendance data and the Hopkins academic data. Next slide. So just in closing, I want to make myself available to you as this RFP comes out. I would love to encourage you to act affirmatively to support signing a compact, and by doing so, you're going to send a strong signal that you're serious about learning, you're serious about improving academic opportunities, and really it's a way to signal that you want access to these federal dollars and you want to use them well. So I'll stop talking, answer any questions you have.
Jeremy, I just wanted to clarify that this is not an unfunded mandate.
Correct. This
Entirely
is
funded
a
with COVID money.
correct. This is funded with the GEAR funds for this tranche of funding, and then there's the capital infrastructure will have different parameters, but again, that's going to be federal dollars coming in. That program I'm not as familiar with. I'm more familiar with the operating dollars, and that both RFPs haven't been fully published yet. So when you see the final published RFP, you'll see the detail. This $4 million of GEAR money does not have a local component. As an educator, I applaud every dollar that goes into public education. That said, this is definitely not an unfunded mandate. The governor, when he was mayor of Cumberland, he was pretty strongly against unfunded mandates going out to cities and towns, as you may know. And there's a commitment not to do that.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I did have a question.
Yeah.
So I know that you mentioned in your presentation that we can coordinate with the Charahoe district, but I was wondering if the governor's initiatives included going to the regional school districts on his own, because they may have their own ideas or things that they could want to use this for. I would like to kind of keep 3 towns would have to then coordinate with each other, and that can be a lot. So I think our school committee is already set up to make these decisions.
So again, that would be that becomes a local decision. Both Bristol and Warren have signed on to the compact. The superintendent was at both signings. She has been working with both communities around some initiatives, some partnerships with one of the local museums and with Roger Williams University, and really trying to figure out a collective impact strategy. That may be what your communities decide to do. That will be up to each of the three communities that make up the Charahoe district. And you know, the governor's belief is that this is not about school system initiative. This is about cities and towns. So think about, you know, maybe a summer program in your library, or, you know, out of school time tutoring initiative that's getting retirees in Richmond, working with Richmond kids. You know, you can be as creative as you want to be. But there are different funds that are in his budget that are for, you know, other out of school time projects. But what I will say is this initiative, which is funded through GEAR, and, you know, RFPs coming out, this is about the local community leaders in all 39 cities and towns. So, you know, a Foster program and a Gloucester program, a Warren program and a Bristol program. And they could come together. You could come, like I said, you could come together, or you could think, you know, hey, this is going to be try to do something unique for our unique community. But it is not a school-based RFP.
Right, I hear you,
So
thank
this-
you.
I have a question for you. This is kind of like
You might want to talk into the mic.
this is kind of like reinventing the wheel. It's like the school is already doing like 90% of what's here in your presentation. So I really think that your presentation really should go before, you know, the Charahoe School Committee, the superintendent. Because, you know, it's like, we don't handle these things like this in this building. That's the other building.
So that's a point of view. And I respect all points of view. What I will say is, when we met originally, we had the superintendent on a call. She actually brought all of the principals, or almost all the principals from all the schools. And I know they would be eager to be a lead partner in this. That said, this particular program, this particular strategy is really to invite the town managers, the town CEOs across the state to take a leadership role and to lean in. That's what this program is. And we would love for Richmond to participate.
Yeah, we have an omnibus meeting that is once a year. And that is when the town managers and the finance directors and whatnot get together. And from the experience of that last omnibus meeting, there really wasn't too much input from some of those folks. So I think maybe you should really go to Charahoe and, you know, pitch this to Charahoe. And then if our town, you know, manager and the finance director wants to get involved, then they can.
It's on our agenda tonight.
Right, if I could just clarify
Sure,
real
go
quick too, because I had those same thoughts when I saw this in the
Right.
agenda, like, why is this not going to Charahoe? But we can use the money for our rec center when they do things like their mad science events and their April vacation weeks, and make it more education based. So I just want to throw that 2 cents in there just to clarify.
Well,
my statement. Thanks.
that being said, is tonight the night that we would make a motion to participate and sign this?
You certainly could, but you could also wait to get more information if you're not convinced.
I don't-
If you wanna have some sort of a meeting, or one of you be a liaison to the superintendent to see what she envisions as their role.
If the money is there, I don't want to miss out. I don't want our town to miss out because we didn't want to participate or we wanted to question it. So I'd like to make a motion that we,
I just wanted,
Sure, go ahead.
I wanted to say something too.
well,
Go ahead,
we
Rich.
need a motion and a second, then we can discuss.
Okay,
So I make a motion that we move to sign the compact with the state. And do I have a second?
I'll second for discussion.
Okay, for discussion. Okay, go ahead.
I want to make sure that this is just not another way to pull the educational power away from the schools and into the power of the Department of Education, because I do not have confidence in their approach to helping students. And I also this is called a funded mandate right now, but I'm afraid we'll create a bill.
Yep.
And then we'll be stuck with the bill when the year is up.
Is there a way to get more clarification on all of the details? If the town decides to go forward with this, and let's just say half of the towns go forward, what happens with that 4 million? Does it get divided equally with the towns that do go with the action or not? Or does it, you get your 100,000, it's 102,000 divided by 39? And then that's it. Where does the rest of the money, not the rest of the money go, but if half of the towns do go, what happens with the towns in that amount of money?
Yeah, I don't want to speak, I don't want to speak for the Department of Education, which I think will be the one that will issue the RFP and process the applications and award the funds. But my understanding is that they are looking at different strategies and mechanisms to award these funds for proposals that come in that meet these goals. And I don't want to call it a prerequisite, but certainly a strong signal of the seriousness of your application is for you to invite the governor to Richmond to host a signing and signal, hey, we think learning's important. I think if you really look through that compact, there's some good ideas in there. There's those ideas come with funding, and I think everyone recognizes that we are in a unique moment coming out of COVID, where we have crucial needs at this moment, and we have a real funding opportunity at this moment that matches those needs. So the long-term concern that, oh, we create something and then it becomes an unfunded mandate 3 years out. I don't see that happening, because the world knows we're in a unique moment right now with unique tools to solve the challenges that we have. And this is one of those tools. I think the other thing you could do is you could vote tonight to authorize signing a compact, sign a compact, see the RFP when it comes out and say, you know what, this isn't for us. Or the RFP comes out and then you say, hey, let's get on the phone with our neighbors and do a Charahoe collective impact application. Or we'll do a split application. We'll do this project, with the schools and do a bunch of FAFSA nights to drive improvement in FAFSA. But then we're also going to use the rec center and do some summer learning during the summertime and partner with and split our funds up in a strategic way. Really excited to see what 39 different initiatives are across the state, and especially excited to see what a Bristol Warren, a Foster Gloucester, a Charahoe comes up with, because you do have this unique governance structure.
So I have a question. Is this one of those deals where Central Falls gets $400,000 and Richmond gets 50,000, or is it each town get an equal amount of money out of this disbursement?
So I don't think it will be equal, right? I don't think New Shoreham is going to get the same investment as Providence. That said, the governor has been clear. He would love to invest in all 39 cities and towns, and he would also love to see applications that are meaningful, or awards that are meaningful across the board, right? So if you were to design a formula that gave everyone equally, Providence getting the same as New Shoreham might not be fair and equitable. If you did it on a per student basis, I don't know what New Shoreham would never bother applying for anything, right? Block Island would, they would get, pennies, right? So I believe the strategy is going to be, there will be a floor of the award level and, a ceiling such that, to your point, all of the funds don't go to, say, our neediest communities, our largest communities, but there are funds that are available across the state to drive results in 39 cities and towns, right? You getting
But why would they come out with a program and not have a formulation for money's disbursement out of the gate, so everyone could then turn around and go, okay, I know that I have X amount of dollars, and we can formulate a program around that would hit that dollar goal? instead of,
Oh, 1,000% agree. The initiative, that we're in sort of this pre-launch phase, and the RFP, when it comes out at the end of this month, beginning of next month, we'll have those details. And so it's just,
I have a quick analogy. This is like you're coming before the town council, you get a beautiful brand new car sitting in the parking lot outside the town wall. We get in it, we turn the key, it doesn't turn over, pop the hood, and there's no engine. There's no engine in the car. That's basically what you're proposing to me. That's what it sounds like.
So it sounds like we need to wait to look at the RFP so we can look at the detail.
But in order
To
to,
ask if we're going to be able to, like, if we don't decide to do it now, if we lose on it then. Also then if we do decide to sign on, would we then be able to see the RFP and say, no, we don't want to do this, which I believe he said that we could do that.
yeah, we can always
We could
back
pop the
out
hood and say, oh, there's no engine.
and we can
refund.
say nothing, but like they say about the lottery, if you don't play, you can't win. So we need to get to the next level to find out what our apportionment will be and find out the details of what's going on. So that is why I made the motion to sign on to this and go from there.
I do wish there were more details. now,
Yeah.
though.
Well, I mean, we can always back out if it's got some sort of catch-22 situation.
Well, I would like your motion to actually say too, that actually we won't sign anything until the devil in the details is on our table.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Did you hear me? Sir? Did you hear me?
yeah, I heard that. I mean, look, that you have, you can decide to advance this however you'd like. I know the governor is, he's going around the state talking about education, talking about this initiative. There were, 30 people in Warren the other day talking about this with the governor as they signed the compact, and like you, they have questions. But like you, I think they also care deeply about their community and see this as an opportunity to make a public statement about the importance of coming out of the pandemic and doing that successfully, and also really signaling, hey, we want to get every resource we can to our town.
Okay,
And so I'd encourage, you supporting the motion as it's been presented from the perspective of, you're not binding yourself by doing a compact even, right?
Right, so
read
I'm
through
modifying
the
my
details of the compact.
motion. I'm modifying my motion to add a cancel at any time clause. So do I have a second on a cancel at any time clause? All right. Okay, in that case, I'd like to now put it to a vote to see if we can get to the next phase of this and find out what's in it for Richmond. So,
Aye.
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 Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. Have a great night. Thank
I
you.
mean, we're signing, I just want to make sure whether that means we're signing or not, because I think the signature is either mine or yours, so I just want to be clear on.
Well, I mentioned modifying the motion that we weren't gonna sign anything until we saw the devils in the details.
I don't think that
But
was-
essentially that nullifies the motion, really.
Right.
Yeah, what I said is cancel it and we'll sign, but we can say, hey, wait a minute, this isn't what we signed on for. Sorry, we don't want to do it.
That's
Yeah,
what
I
you
voted on.
Yeah, I
Right.
wanted to make sure everyone was clear on exactly what the motion was.
Is there, can I ask the gentleman just one?
Go ahead.
Is there a window here, like we sign it? Is that legal and binding, or what span of time, what parameters do we have to be able to get out of this?
I mean, if you read the compact, it is a series of platitudes. There is not a fiscal note attached to it. There is not, an action that you're bound to beyond, really publicly saying learning's important. Right? That's what the compact
But it's
does.
not a contract.
All right, so it's not a contract, because the thing is, you sign on to something and then they send you the contract. And it's legal and binding, and that's what I'm afraid of, and that's what I wouldn't want to put the town in a precarious situation, right, by doing that. I usually don't sign things first and then find out what's in it after.
Now, the compact was with the agenda materials, and it didn't have anything really, like, it wasn't a contract. It was
So we
almost
need-
like comparable to a little bit of a resolution saying I support
We need
Education.
to advance to the next level to find out. And if we don't participate, we'll never find
All
out.
right, well, we voted on it, so it's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Jeremy.
You're welcome.
So,
Have a good day.
thank you. Next is our town administrator's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Try to be fast.
This is your big moment, Karen.
So on February 9th, you probably remember I brought a request forward to purchase the exterior door for the town hall. It became apparent when they came with the doors that their proposal didn't include frames.
What?
Yeah. So we gave them the stop and we said, take your materials and come back with a quote for the frames, which they did. There was only one other bid when we did it, initially bid it out, and that bid did include frames. So now we're comparing apples to apples here. They're still less than half the price of the other bidder. That being said, the doors are not in good shape. I'm not even gonna elaborate on what happened, but I don't want to give anybody any ideas. But I would recommend that we do.
I have to say that I'm very concerned about doing business with a company that would quote replacing doors without frames. And even if their prices are lower than the other company having given us a reputable bid might be the better choice.
I have worked with the other company before.
Yes.
The company that's more money. I have never worked with this company, to be perfectly upfront.
Can you ask them for, did you ask them for any references?
I have not, but I most certainly can. If you want, I'll authorize this contingent on good references. I'm happy to do that. However, they are on the state's MPA, so that is a reference. Right, from the state, that's everybody who's on the MPA. I put it out to the 23 vendors that were on the MPA.
What is
and these
the
are the only two.
difference in price between the revised quote and the other quote?
It's double.
Still.
Their original quote and their current quote with the frames is double.
But it's still half of what the other company is. Right. So it's still half.
Yeah.
Well, I make a motion that it's contingent on getting at least 2 to 3 other references, decent references. And if it comes back, because they could have made a mistake.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So it's having done RFPs before working for different companies, that's a really bad rookie mistake. It's a mistake, not a mistake.
It was in the, I mean, we put it out, everything's doors and frames, but when they submitted it to us, it didn't include the frames.
Right.
Well, you know, with the business climate out there right now, everybody's shorthanded and whatnot. Some departments, people are doing double duty and whatnot, so the motion would be that as long as 3 references come back, okay.
Yeah.
I make a motion to
And
authorize the spending for the extra.
I second that. So any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Hi.
Next, I just wanted to give you my update on the roundabout. I said I'd kind of do this periodically. They put all their sediment controls in place. They cleared all the land that they need to clear. They've surveyed the site, and the utility companies or the utility locations have already been marked. So they should be starting shortly. Cardi is receiving pricing on piping and connections for the town water line. And lastly, I just wanted to mention, because Samantha brought this to my attention, they put up a sign.
Blocks.
Correct. So just east of the intersection here, they put up the sign, the standard, like, you know, on time, on budget, whatever, the state sign that they put up, and people were complaining on the community Facebook page that it blocked the view if you were coming out of Carolina Newsneck and looking up the hill, you couldn't see. It happened over the weekend. It got posted. Samantha, I think, got contacted directly by someone and reached out over the weekend to DOT, and they said they'd take care of it. In the meantime, Scott came in and he said, "I did it," and I was like, "What'd you do?" He goes, "I took it down." So because one of Scott's
My hero.
trucks actually almost got hit because he was pulling out of there. So he said, "I'll take the heat." That's the story on the side.
Great.
And the last bit of news, I think is really good news. I submitted 4 applications to Senator Reed's office for earmark funding. 300,000 for a radio tower, 223,000 for security cameras, 200,000 for police radios, and 100,000 for an elevator for the senior center. Those have all been advanced, all 4 of them, to the appropriations committee. They tell me that that doesn't guarantee us anything. There's still more projects than there are money, but fingers crossed, you know, don't count your chickens kind of thing. They said he had 330 requests for projects, totaling more than $675 million. So fingers crossed, and I'll keep you posted. It could probably still take a while.
Good job, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sure he'll take care of us.
Hopefully.
Next, we're moving on to item H, appointments and resignations. And item number 1 is resignation of Jeffrey Bellencourt from the Zoning Board of Review. And I'd like to.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All
The
those in favor?
usual letter of, thank you very much for your service. Yeah.
Aye.
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 Next, we have 7 applicants, 1 already on the planning board, so I mean, the zoning board, so we need to take that one separately, so.
I move to appoint to full-time position Louise D. Dinsmore.
Yeah, the others.
I think, Mark, you asked me earlier if it made sense for you to have all of the applicants make public statements first before you made any motions for appointment.
Well, her
She's already.
situation is separate from the other 3. The other 3 are not sitting board members.
Right.
Correct.
So
They're all on the same item. They're on the same item.
Right, but that was, I believe, an error because Louise is already an alternate.
My motion is to move to appoint Louise Dinsmore to a full-time position, replacing Chelsea's unexpired term in July 2024, pending her immediate resignation as first alternate.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
No.
No.
Okay, now the next group of 6 applicants. I would like to have each one of the applicants speak. And then I would like to take, have each council person write down in order of selection who they want. And the first one would get the 7/31/2024 position. The second highest vote getter would get the 7/31/23 position, and the last one would get the
Ask a question on that.
yes.
How do you expect that? I love ranked choice voting. That's gonna be really cool. But how do you expect that to be open in public for everybody to see how my names come out and how your names come out?
I don't know, is that a necessary thing?
Well, you're gonna announce them.
Okay, that's the procedure we're going down. That's the
Okay.
procedure we go down.
Okay. So that being said, the first person on the list is Robert A. Sayer. Come up to the podium and identify yourself.
And Bob Sayer, Richmond resident, live on 62 Punch Bowl Trail, not afraid to say. I applied because my neighbors made me. They wanted me to apply to the planning board. And I told them, I said, no, I retired. I want to retire, you know, but now they kind of talked me into it. I'm a very reasonable person, and we need to have reasonable people on the zoning board because there are a lot of things in this town that need to be protected. Little about me. I've done just about every blue collar job there is to do the last 35 years, 36 years. I was a truck driver, union truck driver. I know Mr. Trimmer doesn't like the unions, but
No, I don't like the public sector.
But anyway, I was a truck driver. In the last 8 years of my career, I was a business agent for the Teamsters Local 251. Negotiated contracts with some of the biggest and the best, Exxon Mobil, National Grid, Riverhead Building Supply. We organized down here under my watch, and I had I was in charge of 25 different union barns, 23 different union contracts. So I was a very busy guy. I know how to deal with people on the other side of the table, and I was very reasonable. I was very effective at my job. I've done every other kind of blue collar job that you can imagine. I know a lot about carpentry. I do a lot of carpentry. And I'm well rounded as far as all that goes. I know there's a need for economic development in Richmond, but we have to have reasonable people that are going to know that, you know, there are certain zones that need to be protected because we need to protect our water supply. That was a big conversation tonight about Mr. Trimmer's neighborhood and all of that. And I went through the same thing with when they built Oak Hill Estates. It's right behind my house and it affected everybody's well up on Punch Bowl Trail. So we need to be reasonable as far as these big developments go and everything else and protect our water. Without water, property is worth nothing.
The town's worth nothing.
That's right. Open to any questions that you might have.
I have one. How do you feel about negative public discourse? Criticism of, we're all neighbors. I say this all the time, we're all neighbors. We're all volunteers, everyone. And do you feel that people on boards and commissions should be openly and repeatedly critical of people who sit on other boards and commissions?
If there's reason, I mean, everybody, whether you sit on a board or whether you don't sit on a board, you have your opinions and you have the right to express your opinions.
Right.
I know, I've written to the letters to the editor and everything else when I disagreed with you, Mr. Trimmer, about the Nancy Hess situation. I put it out there. It's my right as a, freedom of speech, but I know how to work with everybody, and I have throughout my whole career.
Okay. That's my only question. That's the same question I'm gonna ask everyone, so.
And don't take it personal.
No, I don't. Believe me, I take nothing personal and I do not return the favor when someone attacks me, so.
Will you find it hard though, because you like to keep Richmond rural, and you've stated many times that's why you moved here? The zoning board, you have to follow basically really the letter of the law. Will you refrain from bringing your own personal opinion into a decision, knowing that the zoning board is more of a legal style board and there are legal ramifications if you were to sway from those ordinances?
Well, I think I understand what you're asking. An opinion is an opinion. As far as the zoning board, I just want to make sure that the rules and regulations are followed on the zoning and everything else. And if there is a special interest or special use permit or something like that, I want to make sure that it does keep with the rural character of Richmond, and I want to make sure that it does protect our water supplies. My main thing is the water supplies, because let me tell you, we've been through it up there on that hill, and they want to put another development in down the street from me. And we already have neighbors that have wells that go dry in the summertime, and we can't have that. That needs to be protected.
Anyone else?
I have no questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And the next,
Sure, you had a question?
No, I have no questions. There.
and the next is Joyce Flanagan.
Hi.
Hi.
I put my name in that position because I'm actually intrigued by rules and regulations, and I spent 15 years as a project manager for a construction company, residential construction. And we followed all the town codes, building regulations, plumbing, electrical, worked a lot with DEM to get approval for septic systems. So have experience putting all that together and trying to figure it out and put in the best applications according to the regulations. And really, my interest is in the code. And I'm simply interested in reading it, getting to learn about it, and helping the town of Richmond enforce it.
So I ask you the question, how do you feel about board members of various volunteer boards engaging in public assassination or public defamation of members of the council or members of other boards?
Has that happened?
Yes.
Well, I guess any negative back and forth is unpleasant for everyone. I wouldn't imagine it would be any of the people here who are applying for the position. It wouldn't be on their agenda to.
No.
attack people.
Just what it is I've been talking to developers and other people who are not town residents, but are interested in working with our town. And the public discourse was brought up and the social media postings were brought up, and that kind of thing, they're concerned. They expressed open concern about doing business in this town with that kind of crap going on.
Now I know where you're coming from with that, and it made me think, is that perhaps a real reflection of the times that we're living in? That
I hope it's not.
No, I'm just thinking
Yeah.
everything's contentious and everyone is advocating strongly, more strongly than they did in the last 8 years, and maybe tempers are out of control. With that said, public discourse is basic to our democracy.
But serving on a quasi judicial board, one has to kind of temper their comments.
So are you suggesting maybe there'd be like a code of conduct for each person that's on the board?
Just an
'Cause I
informal,
guess the
just
town
it's
council
what
would have to.
Not a bad idea.
it's just the question I asked, that's all. I just wanted to see the response of each applicant.
I have a
Best I
question
can do.
for you, Joyce. With that being said, expounding on what President Trimmer is just saying, do you have the ability to separate the issue from the person?
I can't even imagine that you would be looking at an ordinance and not be looking at the wording of the ordinance without your personal feelings getting in the way. I can't even imagine that.
Well, because what kind of concerns me a little bit is this, that was given to me tonight, and you're a recipient of this, of the town council bingo. And, you know, one of the bingo entries is, you know, I guess somebody has said it because they're concerned about the elderly, but I guess it's a mockery of think of the elderly taxpayers. And then another thing that was brought up quite a bit was for the children. And you guys are playing bingo, all right? And whenever somebody mentions for the children, you guys do bingo.
Who's you guys? I'm sorry.
Well, right over here, it says this was given to you from Crispin Chambers from the Richmond Democratic Town Committee. I'll be sending everyone an individual link in case you want to entertain yourself during the next Richmond Town Council meeting by playing Richmond Town Council bingo. If you want more than one card, let me know. Of course, it'll be less conspicuous if you are playing from home. And Samantha Wilcox probably shouldn't be playing while at the table. So with that being said, I've been the recipient of a few of your letters, and you don't know me from Adam. And that's why I asked you the question, are you able to separate the issue from the person? Because if you want to get to know somebody, I'm all for one to say, let's go have a cup of coffee. But if you can't separate the person from the issue, I'm just afraid that the zoning board will then have a bingo card too.
I don't think that has anything to do with
Of course
this.
it does, absolutely does.
Mr. President,
Yes.
if I may, briefly, Joyce and I, and I'm sorry, I'm speaking for you here, cannot be held responsible for things we're in the recipient of. We didn't create it, we didn't circulate, it, we received something. It's just like if I received a letter in the mail, I have nothing to do with that. Email's the same. I think it is really important that we separate personal issues from our zoning board. For sure.
Personally, I
Um,
think the bingo card is funny. But
I think it's distasteful and callous.
But also, I think that also sometimes our personal experiences help us guide our decisions. So it is hard to leave that at home, but the law is the law, and you're following it. So that's.
You know, it's
important.
interesting, when
So
you're
it's a fun
talking about
balance.
personal experiences, I'm thinking, do they want to know if I like to garden? Do they want to know if I like to ride my bicycle?
Right.
Because that's really who I am. I'm just a regular person, although I did.
Thank you. I say the same thing too,
Yeah.
but sometimes people have a hard time realizing that. Thank you. You took the words right out of my mouth. Thank you.
any other questions? No, thank you very much. Next is Nell Carpenter. Is she remote?
She was remote and I asked her to turn her video off in preparation and she left the meeting.
Okay.
She's not currently in the meeting. Unless she is iPad or RAB guest.
She might be driving down here as we speak, like. Linda Zambrano.
Good evening, I'm Linda Sambrano, Newsnack Hill Road, Richmond, Rhode Island. I've lived here since 1991. And the reason I'm interested in this is because now I'm retired and interested in becoming more involved in the community. I heard that there was space available on this committee. I will say I don't have a lot of experience in something like that. I love living in Richmond. I like to see that the rural character is held, but I do understand we have to have more businesses coming in. But I would like to see it like maybe doctor's offices or something that isn't industrial, that keeps the place sort of pristine and how it. And I would say that after hearing the other applicants, I don't have a lot of experience and I'd be willing like to be an alternate or so I could learn. I feel that I'm intelligent enough that reading the rules, I would follow the rules. And I'm just interested in learning and just becoming more involved in the community.
Just a quick question for you. You mentioned industrial, you'd rather see doctor's offices, but if there's a piece of land zoned industrial, would you shackle the business that's trying to purchase and open up an industrial business in that industrial zone?
Well, I guess it would have to depend on what kind of industrial, light industrial, yes. We live next to Aqua Science. Okay, and Larry Casey has been a wonderful neighbor, you know, so that type of industry, but you know, where iron smelting or something like that, I really, but I mean, you know, he keeps his property pristine.
Don't worry about that, we're gonna be regulations, forget it.
Yeah, but that's what I mean, he keeps his properties pristine and he was a wonderful neighbor to us for many, many years. We had our horses back in his backyard there for 12 years and things like that. And like I say, I'm retired. I was a music and voice teacher. I don't have any building experience of that, but I just heard that there was an opening and that I'm willing to learn.
So my question that I asked everyone else, and I asked you too, do you feel that it's good form for board members to go on social media or letters to the editor? Or
I don't
what
do
have
any
you?
of that.
Okay.
Yeah, I keep that.
In my and seeing how you have a good sense of humor, what instruments do you play?
I'm a voice teacher and piano teacher, or
Okay.
was, I am retired. COVID really did
I
away with
was
the voice.
a music teacher for years too.
Ah,
I taught
yeah.
voice, bass guitar,
Oh,
and
really?
trumpet.
Oh, yeah, trumpet was in our family too, but yeah, I was at URI for many years.
Mark, can I ask you something? Is there any career that you haven't had? No, we're sitting here with you for 6 months and it's like, the Old Testament, you haven't lived 800 years.
In fact, I was,
But it's not here. It's
in fact,
not
I was an
on
opera
bingo.
singer in Berlin, Germany. I was an opera singer in Berlin, Germany.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah, so.
I've been to Berlin, but I didn't sing opera.
Anyway, so like, I would even if at all considered, I would even like be more like an alternate to sort of learn and.
Yeah.
things and-
Right, well, thank you very much.
Okay.
And next up is
Sorry,
Jane.
Nell is back.
Okay,
If we want.
sure, go ahead.
But now I need you to start your video. You.
Hello?
Hey, Nell.
Hi, sorry. I'm at a ball field in North Providence, so I apologize with the traffic zooming by me and the periodic screams and yells from the field. So sorry about that. I had lost connection, but I'm back. Thank you for hearing me again.
Can't see you now.
Hi. I hope my connection isn't so spotty.
Well, maybe you can ask her the question,
Yeah.
even though you can't see her face. You can
Okay.
hear her.
So we'd like you to tell us why you're running, and then we have a few questions for you.
Well, I've applied for this position just to continue civic duty. Simply put, no elaboration further, just to simply continue civic duty with the town of Richmond.
Okay. Does anyone have questions? I have one, but.
I know that Nell seems to know more of the codes by number than anybody I've ever met, probably, I mean, nowhere near Karen Ellsworth, but I know that Nell knows many of those codes by number. Amazing.
So Nell, it's a question I've asked everyone else. How do you feel about the propriety of someone who sits on a board or commission in town going on social media or the news media and speaking poorly about other members of other boards or commissions?
My social media presence is limited to my own personal activity. I don't participate on the community pages. I don't participate apart from a like or a love on the official Richmond page for a service or recognition. That my presence is very limited to begin with. But how would I feel about that? I wouldn't do such a thing because sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry
Yeah.
about that. I'm literally standing on the sidewalk outside of the field. I wouldn't participate in such conversation because I find that to be inappropriate.
Yes.
Always
thank
have.
you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Nell.
Thank you.
And
Thanks, Nell.
next would be James M. Breer.
Hi, how you doing?
Hi.
Jim Brea, Richmond resident, 1959. I live on Gardner Road. I'm fully retired now, and I've been attending some of these town council meetings and that. I've always been, interested in the town government. I was on the planning board. 2000, 2001, 2002, when Walter Prescott was on, probably one of the biggest expansions in this town at that time. We had car washes, drugstores, coffee shops, the Richmond Commons. We were meeting sometimes 3 times a month. And then I changed jobs and that, and I kind of got away from it. But I've always been interested in it, and I wanted to get, back involved with it. I've spent my whole career in middle management, manufacturing. I was 30 years at Kenyon, with a short break in there to, I worked at United Nuclear Corporation over in Wood River for a short term.
Did you know Ken Travis?
I think so.
He was the CEO. He was a friend of mine.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say you worked there too.
No.
But I went back to Kenyon, got into management. I actually started there when I was 17. Worked there 30 years. And I've always taken a common sense approach. everything that I've done. You know, you try to have a clear objective. I was president up in Hillsdale Mobile Home Park. We rewrote all the rules and regulations, updated the bylaws, somewhat successively explained to residents how all that works with bylaws and, you know, rules and regulations, because prior to that, there was a lot of miscommunication, you could say. So I also was involved with the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank to get the water lines replaced, which we did. And actually, we're repaving the roads. We're starting repaving the roads this week and next week. So that's a good thing. So I've had a pretty diverse career. And like I said, I've been here since 1959. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's before I was born.
Yeah, so.
Me too.
And I'm a grandfather, so. That being said, does anyone have questions?
I have a question. You said you got money from the infrastructure bank. Are you saying that they have water lines on Gardner Road?
No, I'm sorry, in Hillsdale Mobile Home Park.
Okay, but
Yes.
even so they have a central well.
It's federal money
and
that they have.
It's
Yeah.
not connected to the water system.
No. We have our own wells in Hillsdale.
Okay,
And we had to replace some of the wells there, the water lines, they go back to the mid-70s. So we had to
Okay.
replace them. So we went, you know, first with the Department of Agriculture, that didn't work. And then I started talking with Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank, and they had federal funds and, you know,
so are they all on the same well, or are there more than one well?
we have two wells.
Two wells, okay. And how many units in there?
There's 105.
Okay,
It's monitored by Northeast Water, which I believe the town uses now.
okay, thank you.
They do a good job.
So I asked my question that I've asked everyone else. How do you feel about board members? Excuse me?
Oh, I'm sorry.
How do you feel about board members on various boards publicly attacking other board members on other boards?
No, it doesn't, no, you can't work that way. I wouldn't use social media. I mean, I might have a strong opinion, a disagreement, but I would go to the person directly and say, look, this is why I feel the way I do. And, you know, you try to come to some kind of a compromise or, you know, a plan C. But I would, and I certainly wouldn't do it on social media. No, that's just a negative. There's no good outcome on that.
Jim,
Yes.
you all set,
Go
Mr.
ahead,
President? Hearing you say that, that's a wonderful thing. Old school, no social media. If you can't directly tell the person right to their face, all right, I think that's a wonderful thing. That's old school. That's how we were brought up, right?
Yes,
They
it
didn't
is.
hide behind social media and whatnot. So that's a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And lastly, we have Justin K. Price.
I'm Justin K. Price, Richmond, Rhode Island, live over off of 6 Barber Lane. Just like to thank the council for considering my application. I think that being on a board or a committee or a commission it's an honor, but it's absolutely a responsibility. After serving on many committees and commissions in the House of Representatives, I've learned that you need to access all the information and all the tools that you can access in order to make sound decisions and work on whatever the issue is presented before the committee. So the other thing I did learn is that I certainly don't know everything, and learning about stuff and asking questions and asking, you know, might have to ask hard questions or work within the committee, work with the committee members to bring in outside people to inform the committee about what we're looking at to decide on, and just to make sound decisions on behalf of the town, on behalf of the citizens of the town of Richmond. So
Now, you lived in Richmond how long?
Since 93.
Wow, okay.
Well, I bought in 93 and then was working on the properties, couldn't actually live in them. So, but been here for a while.
And you're in the General Assembly for how many years?
4 terms, 8 years.
8 years? And so you got plenty of experience being on boards, commissions and, you know, whatnot, in the General Assembly. Is there anything similar to, this?
I think the similarity would be that it's like, it would be another committee or a commission, and they all kind of run the same with finding out information, asking questions, listening, learning, you know, bringing in professionals, bringing in legal counsel, and just making a collaborative collaboration to make a sound decision. Every situation is different. Every topic's different. So, you know, there's always a learning curve.
How do you feel about negative public discourse about people on other boards and commissions in your town?
I think unless it moves things forward and has a negative, I think that personally, I think people get sick of the negative stuff and it puts a bad light on the people that do it, the people that receive it, and it doesn't move the town forward, and it just it's not productive, and I don't choose to participate.
So besides not stating your opinion like that on like social media or writing a letter to the Charahoe Times, like you wouldn't stand out after a meeting outside the town hall and totally lambaste a fellow committee member, you know, to disparage their reputation. And would you do anything like that?
What would be the purpose of that? I would have to ask, what would be the purpose of that? I guess I would say, no. I wouldn't
I appreciate that.
participate in that. I think that people on a committee or commission should work together and bring things up in committee and have a meeting, professional meeting, and that's the purpose of having the meetings, to bring up the issues. Leave it at that. Let the people decide on the information that they're presented with.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Does anyone?
So what, so you didn't ask Louise to come up and talk? I don't understand what.
She's not she's not competing against these 6 people. These
Why?
people are, she's still an alternate on the planning board. She hasn't been, she's on the planning board already.
Yeah,
She didn't advance.
yeah.
These
She's-
people
she's
are
asking-
not on the
She's
planning.
asking
board.
to advance though in this
Right.
application.
Yeah,
So why is she not? So what does that mean?
she was already voted onto the planning board.
Zoning.
That's what I meant, zoning board.
Yeah,
She's not competing against these 6 people, so that I handled it
are
separately.
you saying that she would stay an alternate?
Yes,
Because she doesn't want to be an alternate. She's applying to be,
You got the most
she wants
experience.
to
but
be
she-
on the zoning board as a full member, not an alternate.
We also have a procedure that if you want to step out of a position, you resign from that position, and then you put in your application to be.
In the past,
to-
it-
And that's where we've
She had-
always,
in the last meeting, didn't she
Okay,
apply
sorry.
in the last meeting? We put it off because we were running out of time.
no, we're running out of time. We were here for 4 hours.
4.5.
Yeah.
Well,
So there's,
I think someone can resign
it's,
and apply at the same time. To me, it's discrimination.
It's not even that. She's on the board as an alternate and doesn't meet the same requirements as the other 6 people because she's already on
she
Mr.
should-
the
President?
board.
Well, she
Yeah.
should automatically.
Mr. President,
Yes.
thank you. I had the same question actually when they wanted to, when the motion was made and we moved forward with the motion, I said, why are we doing just one person and then everyone else separately? I asked the very same question, but we already moved forward with that. We already voted on that. I kind of just feel like now we should move forward. That's just my thought.
Well, I didn't vote on that.
No, we voted on her appointment. You voted yes.
You were going to say something.
Yeah, her term expires on July 31st, so she's going to be up for reappointment again next month.
Okay. But if there's no, does an
As an
alternate
alternate.
get to vote like a regular member?
only if the regular members are not there to vote. The alternates attend the meeting and they can take part in the meeting, but only full members vote. But unless there's they're one member short, then an alternate will fit.
Why
It
would-
feels like discrimination to me.
Yeah. Why wouldn't we move up the first alternate? And that's why they're there, he or she. And then when an opening comes available, that person should automatically slide right into the full position. And she comes with the most experience. There isn't anybody here, all right, that has any experience other than Ms. Dinsmore.
Because the way that the procedure has been and has always been is that you step down from a position to put your application in to be part on a new position. That's the, and this is, and it's not even on, it's not on our agenda.
It's on the
The-
agenda as an applicant.
The resignation is not on the agenda. If it was on the agenda, then we would have taken care of it as an agenda item, and it is
Well,
not.
no, because that was my motion, was her
And it was,
resignation.
and it was denied. And it was denied.
It's the
Simple.
same, no, it's the same way that it happened previous year to one or two other members. And I think we should give Ms. Dinsmore. a chance.
Mr. President, we did already vote on that motion. If you'd like to have a motion to reconsider, you can do that. If you want to just follow procedure. You can do that, make a motion to reconsider, but we already voted on that motion.
Well, I think we should give Ms. Dinsmore.
And I understand that you already voted on the motion. I just want to say that I did go through the training process.
Mhm.
Several hours worth of training that the state runs as an alternate. I have participated in 2 zoning meetings where there wasn't enough participation and I had to vote as an alternate in order to render a decision on a couple of different matters. So I've been a diligent member of the zoning board. With that being said, I did not resign because I did ask Solicitor Ellsworth to just enlighten me as to where it says in the town charter that an alternate on a board or a commission had to resign before being considered as a full member. And that's really all I have to say, but it's been an honor to serve on the zoning board as an alternate member. Thank you.
Thanks.
Does it say in the charter that they have to resign first?
No, it does not.
That's not why I did it. I did it because she's already on and she's not competing with these other 6 people. So we have 6 candidates that we were to put in order. The top candidate would get 6 points. The next would get 5, the next would get 4, the next would get 3, 2, and 1. And the highest vote getter wins.
Okay, so it's reverse order, highest person gets 6.
Highest
Gotcha.
person gets the most points.
And who's
So
keeping score?
who, Erin, could you keep
She's
score?
monitoring. what the screen- You sure? Oh, I'm impressed.
If not,
Okay, so to clarify procedure, each council member is going to state their highest priority. And number 1, high priority gets a 6 number.
Right.
Base number per item.
right,
I have a parliamentary question for Ms. Ellsworth. Can I rescind my motion and she can pull her second? So that way we can consider Ms. Dinsmore?
You can make a motion to reconsider the previous motion that was approved. And you would need a second, and then you would need a majority yes votes to reconsider.
Because I think your point was well taken. But now the amount of times that you asked the other applicants and, Ms. Dinsmore was sitting right there. So I think it was well taken. But I do that. I will rescind my motion.
Rescind my second.
Well, what you need to do is make a motion to reconsider the previous vote.
Thank you.
And you're going to second that motion?
Yes.
Point of order.
Yeah. Shouldn't it be, doesn't it have to be the majority who won that motion just to reconsider?
Yes.
the Motion.
Yes.
Motion to reconsider can only be made by a member who is in the majority on the motion. So it would have
That's
to
what I
be
just
Mr.
said.
Trimmer, Mr. Nassani, or Ms. Wilcox to make a motion. It's out of order by the other 2.
thank you.
Well, that's why I asked Ms. Ellsworth,
Yeah,
she's the
yeah,
attorney
he is,
for it.
he is correct.
Voting order. So who wants to go first with their list, or would you like me to go first with my list? I'll go first. Not my number one choice is James M. Breer. My number two choice is Justin Price. My number three choice is Nell Carpenter. My number four choice is Linda Zambrano. Number five is Joyce Flanagan, and number six is Robert Sayer. Vice President, you want to go second?
My first choice is Robert Sayer. My second choice is Joyce Flanagan. And my third choice is Linda Zambrano.
We need, everybody gets points, so we gotta. Each
My
person.
fourth choice is James Breer. My fifth choice is Justin Price. My sixth choice, seventh choice is Nell and Lewiston.
Louise is not on the list.
No, she's not.
Sorry, it's just reading on a piece of paper.
Go
All
ahead.
right, go, can you please say that again?
Sarah getting 6 points, that was your number one choice. Flanagan getting 5 points. Zambrano 4, Breer 3, Price 2, Carpenter 1. Correct?
Right.
So Nell Carpenter gets my first vote and Justin Price my second vote. No other votes.
You gotta vote.
Why?
Because we're using the numbers.
I don't want to vote for anybody else.
I didn't want to vote for anybody else, but I did. So you get
Well,
two, two.
Well, this
I think
is
we
what,
shouldn't have to.
it's how we decided to handle it. So if you don't
Well,
wanna,
yeah, it's like if you go to the voting booth, you can vote for the ones you want. You don't vote for the ones you don't want.
but this isn't the voting booth. This is the town council meeting. We decided on a procedure prior to the beginning of it. So I'm just asking
Well-
you to please follow it.
Okay. Then my third one would be Linda Zambrano. James Breer. Robert Sayer. Joyce Flanagan.
Mike? Can you go to Council Wilcox first, please?
Councilor Wilcox.
Sure.
please.
I did mine in reverse order, so I'm gonna go slow here. My first choice is Mr. Sayer. My second choice is Miss Flanagan. My third choice, sorry, that's where it's getting weird. Is Mr. Breer. 4 is Miss Zambrano. 5 is Miss Carpenter, and 6 is Mr. Price.
My first choice is Nell Carpenter. Second choice, Justin Price. Third, James Breer. Fourth choice, Linda Zambrano. Fifth choice, Sayer. And then sixth, Flanagan.
Thank you. Yeah.
Recess while it's tallied.
We read 5-minute recess. Well, we.
$11. Yeah. So I got some estimation, but yeah, oh, yeah. Like I said, fireworks. She's in the peace and quiet. Well, see what they do. They've been very respectful. They are. I've been out there. What makes you laugh? Because they say, well, I'm. It's on the checklist. You're gonna be.
So my wife is much better.
That's why you don't, that's why you don't do it.
Bartlett. Okay, so. Call the meeting back to order. That being said, Erin, do you have totals for it?
Mr. Brer with a total of 20. Mrs. Carpenter with a total of 19. Mr. Price with a total of 18. Mr. Sayre with a total of 17, and Ms. Zambrano with a total of 17, and Ms. Flanagan with a total of 14.
Okay. So Mr. Brer would get the 7/31/2024 permanent appointment. Nell
You have to
Carpenter.
vote on them individually, I think.
Well, what we talked about was the highest.
Right,
vote, yeah.
but you still need to make a motion to appoint Mr. Greer to a full seat for a term ending July 31st, 2024.
Okay, so I make a motion to appoint Mr. Brer for a full-time term ending 7/31/2024. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, next highest vote getter was Nell Carpenter. Her term would be a permanent spot ending 7/31/2023.
Second.
All those in favor?
7/21 in a month.
7/31/23. This is the second full-time.
I second.
All those in
No.
favor?
I seconded it already.
Okay.
Aye.
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 No.
Okay, the third highest vote getter was Justin Price. Justin will be, I'd like to make a motion that Justin is
Second alternate.
second alternate.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, and I was asked to tell everyone who didn't get appointed tonight that on July 31st, there is one permanent and two alternate positions that are opening up again. And I invite all of you to apply for those. That being said, I think we're done, right?
No licenses.
No, I'm at Richmond.
Appointment of economic. DC.
Okay, so. Item number 3 is a consideration of appointment to EDC. For Peter C. Burton. Is Peter here?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Could you come up and tell us about yourself, please? I did read your letter.
Oh. My name is Pete Burton, live on 21 Small Pond in town since about 2009. Recently retired mechanical engineer, retired in December. But it was sort of a painful decision. So I started my own business. I did some consulting for my previous employer and it helps. But for years I've wanted to get involved as a volunteer in town. And, really haven't had the time to do it, and now I do. So, looked for a vacancy and saw one that would fit, and I like to pride myself on being someone who thinks out of the box quite a bit. And I don't know, what questions do you have besides your?
What type of business are you in? It's a home-based business?
Yes, it is.
Any employees?
No.
So you actually have 3 employees, me, myself, and I. Right? Mhm. And how long has it been a home-based business?
Just since the beginning of this year. I retired in December.
Okay.
What kind of mechanical engineer? What did you work with?
Designed automated machinery
Oh.
for development and testing of equipment. Through the career, a lot of stuff with hydraulics, miniature hydraulics. This was the company, Lee Company.
Mark did that too.
No, I actually designed semiconductor equipment using pneumatics, but.
Okay. Like fluidics?
Wafer bonders, semiconductor manufacturing, automated assembly lines for clean room settings.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I did that for several years before. Now I'm a X-ray service engineer, which is totally different.
Yeah, so I worked for a company, Lee Company in Connecticut, and it's a lot of miniature high performance hydraulics, mission critical stuff.
Wow.
A lot of the business is military, but I did mostly non-military. The last division I was with was doing a lot of medical and stuff for space.
Oh, nice.
And little stuff, and then miniature valves to do stuff like Abbott used those for the COVID test strips, for example, but not like nanoliter quantities accurately as antigen along test strip.
Nice. Cool. I love that stuff.
Stuff.
All right, Mr. President, I'll make a motion to appoint Peter Burton to the Economic Development Commission with a term expiring on January 31st, 2024.
I second. Okay. Any further discussion?
Yeah, being a small business, Mayor Fung is sitting here. When I was on economic development, industrial development with the mayor, we had large, medium, small type businesses on economic development. So what I would like to see is maybe you can represent small, and I would like to see if we can go out and see if we can get somebody like Mike DeAmbra from Richmond Sand and Stone, or somebody from the preserve, and then a medium-sized business. So that way it's all, it's pretty much a nice, well-rounded representation of businesses, because Mike DeAmbra makes payroll. You make no payroll. He's a mortar, this is a business.
Right, it's not Mr. President, not a bad idea, but this is just for the appointment, the open position we currently have. We don't have that appointment yet, so what you may want to do is just get that on the agenda for a discussion for next time, like creating a new position on a board. Thanks.
How do you vote?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. Thank you.
Motion to approve a holiday license application of Keystone Novelties Distributors LLC located at 1190 Main Street.
Second,
To make it conditional because this is a tent that would be set up and the fire marshal and building inspector has not inspected the tent.
Conditional,
Until
Right.
it's up.
conditional on the fire and building inspector inspections.
second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 aye,
Motion to approve Hawker Peddler license application Keystone Novelties LLC located at 1190 Main Street.
Second,
All those in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
I
Aye.
Aye.
aye,
With the same condition, right?
Same condition.
move to approve, number 3, A and B.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, new business. Discussion and authorization of memorandum of understanding between Charahoe Regional School District and the town of Richmond regarding the school resource officer, which I think is outstanding. So I make a motion to approve that.
Second.
Okay, now we can have discussion.
Yeah. No, I read it, it's fine.
Good with me.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chief, you see any problem with that, chief?
No, sir, that, I do not. I mean, for the most part, the only thing that changes is the president's name and the committee person's name.
That's
The
it,
dates. It's pretty straight language.
pretty easy.
It is now.
Aye.
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 Okay, now my request for discussion and consideration of posting an RFP for an economic development firm that would report to the town council.
So I passed out a proposed job description of whoever that is, because if we're going to put out an RFP, we need to be able to say what we want to have happen. So that's not a final piece of work, but if we're going to do an RFP, we need to know what we're asking for. So that's a list to begin with.
To me, it's really important to have someone or a group that offers full service, that's going to sit down with prospective businesses that want to relocate here and shepherd them through the entire process. Not somebody who's going to give us some nebulous recommendations and walk away.
I agree. I don't want, I do not want a list of how to do it. We want someone to do it.
Right.
Yeah, because in the presentation at the last council meeting, I, Paul Forster, Heidi Rogers, and they used the firm that actually gave the presentation. And her words exactly, and I asked her if I could quote her, and she just said it was a total waste of money. They spent $26,000, and they gave them really no real pertinent information that they already didn't know. Some of the facts on even population was wrong. So with that being said, I'm in total agreement. I just do not want to pay money to have a firm come in and just say, do this and do that, and then they just walk away. Because there's no skin in the game. We need somebody that's going to be hands-on, that will court businesses and bring them into Richmond, and especially if somebody comes with experience.
Exactly. Exactly. Do you have any thoughts, sir?
Yeah, I don't know if you're signed to talk. We're only discussing the
RFP for, we're not
right,
discussing.
similar to what you had presented to us last meeting. Right, like, so we're not discussing hiring somebody to be an employee, whether it be, we're not, like, those are two separate agenda items last time. Now we're just talking about yours, the one you brought to the table. I just want to clarify what I'm talking about.
A consultant or consulting firm.
It's a 1099 deal, no matter what.
Right, right. I just mean like,
my,
Which path?
I
are
don't
we
wanna-
discussing?
I don't wanna-
Are we discussing both?
I don't want to narrow the target down too small that we get
Okay.
nobody shooting at it. So
Right.
my goal is to either have an individual or an individual who's a consultant or a consulting firm that applies, that can do the whole thing, that can kick butt and make put us on the map as far as a place for businesses to locate. I'd like to see something other than a gravel pit in the entrance to our town.
Exactly, because again, I'll say it again, any interchange where there's been a former gravel pit, you've got BJ's, you've got Home Depot, then Garden City used to be an old graphite mine, mining, and then when you go down farther, then you have Fidelity, all right, that was right at the, point of 295, 95 exchange down there. So this has been like Sleepy Hollow over here. And I think it's time for us to jumpstart because we're really behind the times in getting that land. Our commercial and our industrial businesses up and running. And, with that being said, Mr. President, we have former Mayor Alan Fong sitting in the audience that
We should finish council.
Did what?
We should finish the council discussion before we invite someone else up.
Okay.
I thought, excuse me, I thought we were done.
No, I wanted to clarify what we're talking about. I was just starting off with a question. But I wasn't
Did
finished.
I answer your question?
Kind of, because the agenda item to me just looks like the economic development firm, so that's what I was assuming we're gonna be discussing tonight.
From, yeah.
Right,
a
so-
Gentleman who we just put on the EDC, who has his own consulting business, and he's a consulting business of one.
Right.
My father at 90 years old is still a consultant for Bear.
Right. So if I could
Pharmaceutical.
continue, so we're not creating our own position. We're taking what the firm already does and then taking a request for their proposals, what they do, how much that costs, and getting the outline from them
Right,
on what is expected.
yeah.
Okay,
Well, we'll give them an outline also of
I'm
what
just-
we want.
Well, I think one of the biggest hurdles is the fact that the land that we're all talking about is privately held. So you can't expect an economic developer or a gentleman corporation, whatever they are, to come in and say, this is what should go over here. If that private property owner looks at them and goes, yeah, that's nice.
Well,
I'm not going to do that with this.
If we
land."
had somebody, then someone
The-
could go and visit them to see if they would be interested in
That's-
doing something, if they thought the
was
town
my-
would be supportive of it.
That was my next statement, is hopefully this person or company would take the forethought and say, let's go see these property owners and see if they would like to have help. So see if they would like to have interjection of ideas of what they could do with this property if they're interested in going forward with it.
That is
As
that
long
is
as that-
on my list, by the way.
As long as the company itself is willing to do something like that, then great, I'll listen. But
I've already talked to quite a few of the big businesses in town. Richmond Sand and Stone specifically, and they're waiting for Richmond. For them to see that Richmond is becoming more business friendly before they move to the next level. So yes, it is privately held land and it should be. That goes without saying. When I was in Cranston, we even did pad ready sites. Where the business, all the permitting, everything was done, ready to build. And the business was courted and the business was brought in. So with that being said, that showed that these businesses, that Cranston was business friendly. I worked Providence was business friendly. Okay, that's what they're waiting for. Okay, and it's been 20 years. All right, that they've been waiting.
We allocated money for a person to come in and audit our regulations. We did put that money aside before, and that would be one of the first steps. The second step would be to find pieces of property within the town that the owners want to develop. I mean, somebody may just want their section of Richmond sand and gravel to be a gravel pit for posterity. But I'm betting on, there are a number of property owners that would jump at the chance of bringing in a first-class commercial development of some sort. And if we put out an RFP, we get applications in and we get to find out what's available to us. So we're not reinventing the wheel. So we're not hiring a person and saying, hey, this is what we want you to do. Can you do this? Oh, I'm not sure, you know.
Well, I gave the council the last meeting, a tax stabilization plan from the city of Providence.
Right.
And hopefully everybody read it. So, you know, these are what cities and towns do that are serious about luring businesses into their prospective cities or towns. And of course, like even in the presentation I gave you folks, even on that same day, they're looking for services, they're looking for what the tax rate is, what the workforce is, what the regulations are for business friendly potential tax stabilization plan for the new business.
So if we had someone doing economic development, they would prepare that information.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Maybe it's premature to put this out for RFP if we haven't come up with an agreeable framework.
What are we not agreeable about?
Well, you presented this tonight,
Yeah.
okay?
It's
Good
a-
ideas on
It's a
that,
job description of based on the things that were said at the last meeting.
right? But we gotta get the input, you got your input in, but we got 4 other people that have to have
Can I
it.
make a suggestion?
Yes,
You could ask staff to draft an RFP for your discussion.
okay, so that would be a good first step.
So you could all discuss it together, look at it, see what you want to add to it, see what you want to take out of it.
Right.
Well, there's a lot of information that I already brought to everybody on the council. And that is the presentation that I put forward. There's the tax stabilization plan.
Yeah, I didn't get a copy of any of that.
Maybe.
That's the problem with coming to a meeting with something that's not on the agenda and doesn't have a hyperlink. It
Well,
puts, no, hold on, I'm not done yet. It puts everybody who didn't get this until tonight at a disadvantage.
Mr.
And-
President,
Yeah.
I just want to chime in and add to that where I prefer to look at everything online in advance of the meeting so I
Right.
can come here prepared.
So-
I spend a lot of time preparing for it.
well, I get that. I knew you put that on the agenda, so I thought we can't go to do an RFP if we don't have a job description of what we're looking for.
Well, I
So
think,
I did something in conjunction with
Right.
what you were doing.
It's free,
today.
but it,
I couldn't have put it in before you did on Wednesday because I didn't know you would put that in. I
Yeah.
can't see the agenda until after
I
4
put
o'clock
it in,
on Wednesday,
put it on Monday,
but it
but
doesn't show.
Here's the thing, is that if you print this up, you can email it to Erin. Erin can literally email it to us, even if it's a day
24 hours
after.
before.
Even if it's a day after the agenda
Right,
is
that's fine.
put, so that we have a chance to go through it over the weekend.
Okay.
And
So
I have a
my
question on that.
inexperience is showing here.
It's my understanding that we can't do that anymore because of the paper packets. Like we have to meet the deadline and we're not allowed to do it on Thursday or Friday anymore because of.
If we can do away with the paper packet.
Right, so
then we
it kind of
can
leaves us,
have
that
this.
was the whole thing about, moving, eliminating that.
Because if you can receive an email, you can receive.
Right, so that's why, and I'm
Hopefully.
sorry if I'm misunderstanding, Aaron, feel free to chime in, but that's why we have that deadline, that's why we had to set that deadline. All right, thank you.
So what I would love is everybody's input. And I would like in the RFP to be at least start the process. Start the process of hiring an individual consultant or a consulting firm to get this rolling. I don't want to be doing this in
Okay,
September.
so would you like me to email what I did today to Erin?
That would be great. And
Okay.
if you could email, if you haven't already, if you could email that to Erin.
you already have this.
I know I do. But we want to have it electronically. We want to combine everything together and make sure that we have.
I'm sure they can have it too.
Yes.
They can have it too.
I'd like to have the people that the people that we represent need to be able to get a copy of it. And we all need to get a copy of it. That's the whole idea when I said one of my goals was to get the council. I'm sorry, I'm not. My goal was to get consensus of 5 people on this so that we can move forward.
Well, I think we got a lot of good information
Yeah.
to start with, and I think even if we want to have a workshop, so that way we can disseminate some of this information and pick what we think is important, so that way then we can move forward, because the list that, Councilor Sheehan put together, along with some of the information I gave everybody at the last meeting, and I think it's enough to springboard. We can definitely there's enough meat here to start.
I appreciate both of your inputs. I truly, truly do. It's not a platitude, but we need to just do it the right way. It needs to be electronically available to everyone so they can look it over beforehand. Because I was given this tonight, I'm dyslexic. It takes me a long time to read. And I sit here and all the lines move all over the place on, if you've ever known dyslexia. So I have to sit there with a ruler and read. That's how I have to read. So now you know something about me that I didn't want people to know. So, but anyway, the whole, yeah. So the whole idea is, if we, like Karen suggested, if we begin the process of creating an RFP, then we all contribute to what we want to be in the RFP. And then we can get moving on this, so that we're not futzing with this over all summer long, that we can, that we're interviewing, that we're considering candidates by next month. Or probably by the end of next month.
Well, I'm just telling me personally, my experience. I've worked for decades with the city of Cranston, Providence on all this. We've got a resource right here on the council, and I think you know it, Mr. President, and I put together some good hardcore information to give you folks. So let's just get it all together and have a workshop and get going. And I just don't want to.
I'd also, because Mayor Fung is here, I'd love for him to speak. If he say anything, if you could offer, because you did wonders in Cranston, and I know it's not on the agenda, but this is an opportunity that we're not going to get, or that.
Thank you, Council President, members of the council. Alan Fung, from former mayor of Cranston, but also my capacity as a law partner at the Norman Lopes, Devereaux, and O'Gara. And the reason I'm here tonight is because I wanted to listen in on the conversation you're having with the RFP for an economic development, either firm, individual. And I just wanted to say one thing. I'm a little confused. And the reason why I'm a little confused about the discussion with what's going on is I had an opportunity also yesterday to come before the Economic Development Commission, because I saw an agenda item for them for an RFP as well. I want to try to figure out exactly, because my background at the law firm is putting together deals. A lot of what I do is in the state and municipal sphere, where I'm part of that practice group, help lead it. And economic development deals, whether it's helping cities and towns, the state, or even private entities, are part of what I do on a daily basis at the firm. When I saw that opportunity yesterday, I came in front of the Economic Development Commission just to listen, because I wanted to see if this was something that I would have an interest in bidding for. And I had an opportunity to hear what the commissioners were talking about, what they envision, some of the pain points that were even on the agenda tonight from some of your existing business owners, incorporating that, what happens with a lot of the residents. Because look, a lot of discussions you're having here tonight on the council agenda is something that we face every single day in Cranston, and each community is growing in different ways. But one of the things I wanted to kind of get and listen and clarify is exactly what you might be looking for with respect to an economic development consultant. And that's important. And the scope of your RFP is going to be critical of what you put out, of what you're looking for as not just the council, but as a town and the community of what your priorities want to be in helping. Everyone keeps thinking about economic development as who we're gonna grab as a big business owners from Providence, Cranston, or anything, and try to bring them in to the city and town. I say take a step back. Economic development is more than that. It's about helping and growing a lot of the existing businesses here, making sure that you are, having the right laws on the books, the right tools in your toolbox as a town to help grow these existing businesses, make sure that the businesses that are here are coexisting with a lot of the residents, as well as any businesses you're signaling to any businesses on the outside that may want to come in to consider Richmond or this area, as something that is welcomed here. That's an important component of it. And, why I, come and I appreciate the opportunity to speak. What I want to say first and foremost, because this discussion that you're having about the scope of RFP is critically important. Look, what is right for Cranston isn't necessarily right for Providence, Warwick, Richmond, Charlestown, anywhere else. But what that individual that you're looking for should do is provide you with the right toolbox that's right for this area, right with the vision and mission that the town and the council, Economic Development Commission, and the residents want to see coming in, because you're all going to have to live cohesively together and try to avoid some of the back and forth and fights and try to, get through some of the issues that, you heard earlier tonight. So from that perspective, why I was interested in this is I can be helpful in some of those ways, but I'm not sure if I want to, and I'm going to be quite frank with you, if I'm interested in bidding on something where it's more of a role that could be not necessarily permanent, but an more full-time economic development director. I could provide the appropriate services to kind of help put the models, guidelines in place with what you have and have the right toolbox, help on a lot of, reaching out, a lot of the stuff that we did in Cranston, all the communities with the appropriate business to put, you together with the right, developers, right businesses that may have an interest into it. But, this is where I think that scope is important of what Richmond is looking for. Because when you're talking about economic development, it's not just looking at the business entities alone. It's thinking about what Mr. Calasante had indicated about land. One of the things that we did do in Cranston was, yes, getting these sites pad ready, consistent with your comprehensive plan, and making sure that it fits in with the zoning laws that, some of the zoning members who got appointed, fits in. Making sure that you have the right tax incentives on the books. And I noticed I did a quick review. You already in Richmond have a 10-year for commercial, and manufacturing on the books. But a good individual who could provide any type of advice could say, look, and I can tell you from my experience in Cranston, we've got 4 different levers. We've got a 5-year, a 10-year, and a 15 and 20 for industrial. Now, those are options, but that might not be the right option for you guys. And you want to make sure that as you prepare the scope of this RFP, you have a little bit of a realistic vision of where you want to go for that individual to come in. Because what I can tell you is if you have this broad RFP scope or too limiting of an RFP scope, you might either get tons of people or you might get no one to apply for what you're looking for. So one of the things I will say is be careful about the specifications, what you put in. Try to set a cohesive vision. I'm glad you're having this discussion about where the parameters that you want to, go for, and in the touch points that businesses are having. And Council President, to your point, I think listening, whoever is going to be listening to existing businesses, listening to the developers, listening to the residents is going to be an important part, because I think to have a healthy discussion, you're going to have to hear, and the consultant's going to have to hear, or that individual that's an economic development director is going to have to hear what your so-called pain points are. I had to have an honest discussion in Cranston with that same when I first came in. Because it wasn't just necessarily tax incentives sometimes, it was something simple as signage, licensing, building inspections, fire. And we took some different, parameters, and one of the things that I did, because I came from this background, to set up a concierge type service where, before a business came in, before a developer came in, we meet with these entities with all the different department heads so that they can like troubleshoot or spot issues ahead of time. And that's one of the roles that economic development person can play, or a consultant can provide to you. So that's some of the advice
Right,
that.
that's pretty much what I envisioned when I put this on the agenda, is that we're looking for someone who can guide us to the next step.
Right.
Somebody who can give us the very information. And I didn't have any idea that you were gonna be here tonight, and in case anybody wants to race down and accuse me like they did the last meeting.
And I'll be the reason and how I even came to be about it.
Yeah.
I'm an attorney. I'm out there looking for work, especially within this space. And I had signed up for the town's, consultant bids, but also I'm on a national server called BidNet, where it picks up on potential bids, across the country for a lot of things. So that's how I was notified. And that's how I ended up yesterday in front of the Economic Development Commission. From that, I found out from the town planner that this was on the agenda. So I figured, what, if I'm gonna, hopefully bid on this, I want to hear what the residents have to say, what the council members have to say, to see what you're envisioning, just to make sure that, if I'm gonna put something forward, I know what you're looking at.
Right.
So that's why I'm here. Hopefully this was a little helpful, but the one thing I can't say.
All it did was made me want more, but I guess that was the intent, right?
Yeah, but all I can say is that community input part, whoever the consultant is, listening to the town, seeing what the existing process is in place. And even when I sat in with the Economic Commission and the town planner, you are doing a lot of different things that you as a council might not be aware of, and even a lot of residents might not be aware of, some of which we're already doing in Cranston that could be expounded and, utilized even more across different platforms.
Right.
So that's what I could provide, and I can speak to you now before an RFP or RFQ is out. So, if anyone has any questions on that.
What is your phone number? Or do you want to give it to me afterward?
I can give it to you afterwards, or I can give it to you at the firm too.
Yeah, okay.
824-5178. 824-5178 is my direct dial at the wall.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any, I think at this point, maybe my RFP suggesting that we go forward with an RFP was premature.
It's important to know what you need, know what you don't know.
Right, and I just found out what I don't know,
And I
so.
think it's a lot. And
Yes.
Not you, but as the.
I mean,
entire council.
I'm not proud.
Yeah, this is a whole learning.
Probably the most knowledgeable person on our council is Mike, as far as economic development is concerned.
This is a bigger elephant than most people think.
Especially for a town this size. So I really appreciate that information, and at that point, I'm gonna withdraw my push at this time to go for an RFP until we get more information together from the 5 of them.
Did we want to direct somebody to create us an RFP as discussed? That way we can have something to review. I think it was suggested that.
Yes,
somebody make that up.
so let's
I think
let's.
Ellsworth suggested we have somebody.
Yeah,
on staff
so
do
I'd
it.
like to make a motion that we ask whoever it is on our town. Is it Karen or yourself
It would
or?
probably be Karen, yes.
Okay, so be Karen's with input from the council on a future RFP for a consultant.
So all
What's the
all of
motion?
us, are we all going to send to the Karens our ideas about what we would like in an RFP?
I think we should get the information together. I think we should maybe have a workshop. Like, exactly. Even if it's, but I would like to limit the workshop to an hour so it doesn't become a a bully pulpit session. That I think would be really, really helpful to everybody. Everybody's got great ideas and everybody's got unique concerns, and we have one chance to get this right, and I want to get it right. Did I see a hand come up?
They were scratching my head.
Oh, okay, I thought something was, okay.
That was very good peripheral vision.
We have, yeah, it's amazing with these glasses, huh? So,
If there's any information that anybody is gonna, put together, everybody should get it from the council secretary so that way it be sent electronically, because after decades of working with Mayor Fung and, Mayor Napatolano and David Cicilline, I got information, so I'll dig it up, which I found a folder like the APEC. And what I think is pertinent to us, I'll send it to Erin and she can send it electronically.
and then we can set up a time for a 1 hour or less workshop to just kind of buzz through all the stuff and kind of fill in the blanks.
Just so we understand what you're expecting of us, are we gonna have the workshop and then we're gonna write something? Or are we gonna write something and then you're gonna discuss at a workshop, or?
It was my impression that you would write something first, because I feel like we have discussed it at length.
Yeah, we've beat it to death, so if you can come up with something and then we can add data in, fill in the blanks. Add a paragraph here, add a proposal there. Just so that we have something, because you've done more RFPs than anybody, so.
I have a motion from President Trimmer to refer it to Karen, and Karen to develop an RFP consultant.
I'll second it.
And then we can get input from Alan Fung and a variety of other.
Probably shouldn't get input from somebody who's already mentioned he's interested in bidding.
Yes. No, no.
Thank you for agreeing.
Great, I agree.
Okay, so that was out of turn, and I'm sure I'll get
But after they get their information together, then we'll have a workshop.
right.
Yeah.
So all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Awesome.
Communications, petitions, proclamations, motion to file.
Second. Excellent.
Okay.
Motion. Roll call.
Aye.
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 Motion to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.